President Museveni gets another 5 years, adding to the 35 that he has already been at the helm of the country as president, or should they give the next 5 years to Bobi Wine, the musician, as he is considered to be his most lethal contender, as has been written here. We'll be giving you details of that. It has been captured on page 10, 11, and 28. Looking at the main story on the front page of the Daily Nation, Kangata outwits Uhuru's powermen. Now, in regards to this letter, Senator had warned that BBI could fail in Mount Kenya. But now, it is indicated that after a secret night meeting here in Nairobi, the stage was all set for Senate Majority Leader Kangata to eat his words in regards to the Building Bridges initiative and apologize to President Uhuru Kenyatta until the moment came. Page 4 has all those details for us in a bit. And at the bottom right there, we have an image of students who are seated under trees on grass-covered ground, and this was the situation in Kilifi when the Regional Development Principal Secretary went for a quick spot check across the county, and accompanied by reporters. And according to her own account, what she encountered was a shock of her life, because hundreds of pupils are sitting on logs and stones and writing on books which are placed on their laps. Details of how things are progressing in regards to the phase reopening of school that we are in will be coming up in a bit. And also one last interesting story here on the front page in regards to two twins aged 63 who died 5 hours apart. Oh, I've gotten to read that story just briefly, and it's a story of till death do we part. Literally, of two twin brothers. I'll be giving you details of this particular story as we get started within the headlines. Ray.
Well, now that I'm trying to overcome my loss here, my bubble head, I wasn't ready to let go, but hey, let's focus on the front page of the Standard this morning. And there's a big question. We've all, since the term of the former president, that is Mwai Kibaki, Kenya has been accused of looking east. Now, there's a big question on the front page of the Standard this morning. Where is China when Kenya needs it most? Yeah, and we're talking about the debt issue. Now, Beijing has advanced Kenya more than 750 billion for projects, including the SGR. But unlike other rich nations, and we're talking about the Paris Club that also give Kenya 6 months reprieve in as far as, debt repayment, freeing up around 32 billion shillings that is going to go towards mitigating COVID-19, the negative impact of COVID-19 in the country. Now, China has not given the country a breather on loan repayments. China expects 55 billion in the next 6 months, and that is a tall order for Nairobi, which is grappling with dwindling revenues as the economy is hit by COVID-19. It's a story that has been given prominence on the front page of the Standard this morning. We'll be giving you details in the course of the headline segment, as well as we're going to also be looking at what the political intrigues, as has been mentioned there by my colleague Jane Wamboi as she was sampling the front page of the Daily Nation, the root of question. We're going to be trying to put that into perspective, as well as matters of what is happening across borders, and that is Uganda. Uganda decides, and a twist of events is that the United States has pulled out from being an observer as Uganda takes to the polls this morning. Front page of the Standard it is, so do keep it right here to get the details of that and so much more that has been given prominence on our various dailies as well as our news desk.
And 35,000 polling stations, 18 million voters. Today is actually the day Uganda decides. This story looks like it's on every front page of every Daily Nation. Sometimes it is a race between the old and the new, others a race between the past and the present, with the main header, Uganda decides on youth or grandpa. Well, we're giving you details of why Museveni feels he is the best to take the country forward, and why Bobi Wine thinks that actually that's a big mistake. Detail of that coming in a bit. Also on the same front page, matters to do with politics, dominating. Parties gang up against DP in mini polls, and the Jubilee Party has now closed ranks with the ANC, Wiper, and Ford Kenya to ensure that they retain their seats against an onslaught of Ruto after his allies dared them to a contest in their backyard. This story has been well fleshed out from page 6 through 7. Again, details of that coming in a bit. Again, also matters to do with the judiciary, where there's a big dilemma on the next Chief Justice. So who should be next head judiciary? Should he be as combative as his predecessor? Opinions are now divided, where some say aggression isn't leadership, and some feel that actually that is the way to go. At the bottom end, matters to do with the medics. This in regards to the ongoing strike of doctors, nurses, clinicians, and you can remember yesterday I also mentioned that again also lab technicians have joined in this strike, and the Council of Governors now gives up on talks with nurses, and they say they will sack the striking medics. Again, there's another interesting story. Now this is in Russia, where taxi drivers have decided for the customers and clients who are not paying their monies or they are misbehaving, they have decided they are painting them blue. What are they using to paint them? Stick around to find out.
As you stick around to find out, na hurumia ule dem alikuwa na, date Bobi Wine kitambo, because
Look at me now.
That's how they say, build up together.
Yeah.
Build up together. You might just never know.
Na hurumia ule dem alikuwa na vote ana date Bobi Wine kitambo, because whether or not he becomes president of Uganda, one thing is for certain, he has shaped the political discourse of Uganda this far. And whether you like it or not, you cannot wish away Bobi Wine from the political conversation of Uganda right now. Literally, he's become Raila Odinga of Uganda. Whether he becomes president or not, lazima umlete kwa meza. Ama namna gani? Right?
Si lazima.
Si lazima? As far as Museveni is concerned?
As far as Museveni is concerned, remember he's been quoted, I took the throne, or rather the seat of power, through warfare. So, what does that tell you?
Si lazima to do.
Tunaweza enda home na tuchill.
And
No
Patrick,
comeback. No comeback from that.
By the way, Patrick, this is not a suspender. Imefika tu hapa, by the way. Enda huku chini.
It's not a
so
suspender, it's a suspicion.
I don't know what Ray is talking about.
But
Whatever it is.
I didn't say nothing. That was Jane.
Whatever it is.
Myself, I said nothing, Sam, towards to that
Imagine
effect.
I'm holding on to the front page of the Star. And this is how it looks like, okay? It bears the headline, Kalonzo to Ruto. You gave all top jobs to Kalenjins. And Wiper leader now says that DP gave his 50% cabinet share to tribesmates. That story is on page 6 of the Star today. And pictured on the front page of the Star, we've got Junet Mohammed, ODM leader Raila Odinga, as well as Maina Kamanda, nominated member of parliament, having lunch, or is it brunch or late dinner or early dinner at a certain restaurant in Bama Market yesterday. I'll be giving you all the stories about this in just a moment. And we've got Kangata here also pictured on the front page. Is Kangata heading to Ruto's camp? That is the question that has been posed on page 2 of the Star today, as well as governors now explain why we cannot, or they cannot, pay nurses an extra coin. I'll be giving you a breakdown of what nurses currently earn in public facilities, from a degree level to a diploma level, and then you'll be the judge. Sawa. To the top page, to the top of the front page of the Star, will it be Bobi Wine or Museveni? Yesterday, as we were heading to bed, at least for me, I don't know about the ladies, but opinion polls indicated that Museveni was in the lead. But is he? And what is the situation on the ground? That is on page 16 of the Star today. And as far as opinion pieces are concerned, YDP Ruto is no pushover. This is the voice of Wycliffe Muga, which we shall be running by you in the course of In the Headlines today. I can see it's 27 minutes past
have about
the hour.
2 minutes to take our
break,
tradition.
right?
Yes.
But
just in regards to this conversation about Uganda, yesterday I was in a space where this conversation was going on, and somebody happened to mention that in Uganda, as Museveni had put it, he came into power through warfare. And during that space, there are people, and now that particular category of people are the elderly, that Museveni, to them, saved them from a far worse life and situation. And this could be some of the reasons as to why they have continually supported him throughout the years. And even today, as they go to the polls, they still stand by him. So in as much as people are saying that, Uganda needs the change, Bobi Wine could be the change that they need, there is still a very big part of the population in Uganda that want Museveni to still stay in power.
How big is big, though? And also remember that as much as that could be the situation in the 80s, there is a population in 2021 that requires to be saved from Museveni.
So let's cycle. Now, as talking, let me just move things away from Uganda, for a moment there, and take you to Matter Sports. I don't know, you guys, do you know that Arsenal is leading from behind while Manchester United is at the top of the league table?
As we go for a break.
Yes, it's actually at the top of the table. But for how long will Manchester United remain at the top of the table, given that we're expecting a showdown with Liverpool?
Okay,
yeah.
I know.
So Arsenal is leading from behind, and I insist, Arsenal is leading from behind while Manchester United is at the top of the
Director
table.
anasema when the break.
Let's take
that break, guys.
Arsenal is still at the
We'll
top.
be back.
Donald Trump is being impeached.
Enda pale kwa Palume. Wakenya. Gari ndio hii. No, sorry, kifungu ndio hii gari. Ni furaha ile niko nayo. Msichali kete. Wacha tupeane mali ya wenyewe.
Ni vizuri tupe watu vitu zao.
Uchukue mali yako. Uchukue mali yako. Hiyo ndio shamra.
Hiyo ndio shamra ya quick bid.
Umeona? Umeamini?
Nimeamini kabisa.
Hii inaitwa nini?
Hii inaitwa kifungu.
Na hii inaitwa nini?
Toyota Probo.
Toyota Pro. Mpatie kifungu hiyo original.
Shika ingine.
Ndio
ya kuendesha.
Onesha.
Na wewe unaitwa nani?
Naitwa Steven.
Steven nani?
Kahuho.
Nakwambia. Uliwekelea bid ya ngapi, brother?
1772 peke yake.
We. Na ndio amejishindia Pro Box. Sasa hii Pro Box inakusaidia aje?
Itakuwa inanisaidia kazi yangu ya kuuza matunda.
Unaambia je watu wa kwenye nyumbani ambao watakuona na hii?
Wote wacheze na quick bid.
Ukweli. Ni ukweli.
Kabisa.
Sasa tufanyie vizuri. Ingia upate mizigo yako bana. Ingia utoshee, ukae usikie. Inakutosha sawa? Sisi tulikwambia ni aje? Bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini. Bidhaa bora kwenye bei ya chini.
Jiunga na Quick Bid ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bid yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16, kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bid yako pia kwenye www.quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka, bid ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio ununua. Quick Bid, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
Get ready for a 3 weeks Africa Football Feast as the new year kicks off with the 6th edition of the African Nations Championship in Cameroon. From the 16th of January to the 7th of February 2021, 16 teams from the continent will be spread across 3 cities as the best players from domestic leagues showcase their talents live on KBC Channel 1. Let's support our own.
Next on.
My name is Manveer Singh. I study in Melvin Jones Lions Academy. I'm 10 years old. I train in Bucks FC and I'm under 11 top striker. I want to pursue football as my career because I love it from the beginning of when I started sports.
Alicia, how many times have I told you not to do yourself on television? One of our donkeys in the story is quite lazy. And this makes for a very good story.
Welcome back. This is Good Morning Kenya. My name is Jeno Boy. Glad you are with us. Now let's get started with those details that we had promised you before the break as in regards to what the papers have for us this morning. And I want to start with matters concerning the health sector. Of course, different papers have different angles and the Daily Nation has a particular piece in regards to the state of COVID-19 after KEMRI warned that there could be 60 new coronavirus variants in Kenya, bringing it to a total of 20 different variants of coronavirus in the country. And one thing that is concerning the experts is that, and this is still in the preliminary stages, the investigators explained that there is one particular variant whose samples were collected in Taita Taveta County, which is unique to only Kenya and is yet to be detected elsewhere in the world. Total of 20 right now. 4 were discovered, of course, last year in March when the pandemic broke out, when the first case was reported in Kenya. And 4 were discovered then, but as of when they put out this report, this is a report that was put out by KEMRI, they said now we have 20 different variants of coronavirus in circulation in Kenya. And that is the worrying situation, and they are saying that if we do not continue to pay attention and heed these guidelines that are being put by the Ministry of Health, these variants could continue to mutate and lead to new variants that could be harder to contain and harder to treat as time goes by. And according to Dr. Charles Agoti, a researcher at KEMRI, he said that the vast majority of mutations are often insignificant and have little impact, but only if they are kept under control. But if people continue to disregard these protocols that are being put forth by the Ministry of Health, we will have an entirely different situation to deal with. So you can read more of that. You can get, they have put up a little fact box over there to just understand the chronology of these mutations and how they were able to detect them in different countries. And these variants that are in Kenya are different from what has been discovered in the UK and in South Africa as well. So you can read about that to understand how we are doing in regards to COVID-19. Ray.
Now, yeah, I studied in Embu, you can understand. So Martin, my director, is very much
happy.
aware that that is how they speak down there in Embu. Vandovaria. Vava is what happens in Embu. Hey, now, we're coming back to Nairobi County, and let's use English. This is, it's not my mother tongue. What?
Endelea tu sasa. Endelea English.
Lakini endelea tu.
Anasema tu tumie English.
No, just move on. Concentrate on in the headlines.
Yeah. That you utawezana nayo.
Headlines utawezana.
Okay, it's Thursday and so it's a light moment, just in case you're wondering. Now, but we all agreed that, supporting Arsenal should be included in 1,000 ways to die. Okay. Now, talking about the health sector and focusing on, the ripple effect that COVID-19 is having. And we're having a kind of a standoff between the Council of Governors and nurses. The governors maintain that they do not have more coffers to actually pay the nurses, and nurses continue maintaining their hardline stand in as far as their demands are concerned. Now, Yusuf Farah compiled a report to just tell us where it is that we are as far as the nurses' strike is concerned. So here is that detailed report from Farah. Can I take that again? We want to have a detailed report of what is happening between the Council of Governors and the nurses in as far as the payments and their demands are concerned. Yusuf Farah prepared this report, and it will just help us just shed more light into where we are in as far as the state of our health sector is concerned.
36 days after the Kenya National Union of Nurses downed their tools to push the two levels of government to better their welfare as frontline soldiers in the COVID-19 fight, there's still no resolution in sight. Days and weeks of negotiations between the union officials, the Ministry of Health and representatives of the Council of Governors led to a return to work agreement, which union members say is yet to be signed by the Council of Governors.
Citizens of this nation should know that the problems which are facing them, the sufferings which they are undergoing, are not because of the health workers, are not because of the nurses who are actually on legal industrial action, but it is because of the Council of Governors who have not agreed amongst themselves to come and sign the return to work agreement.
Calling on members to stay put, Maurice Opetu said no amount of intimidation will cow them, noting that both levels of government agree that their grievances are legitimate.
If it is going to take 1 year and above before they come to sign, we shall not go back to work, because the issues we raised were genuine. The committees that we were given to negotiate it with also agreed with us. And that is how we drafted the return to work formula. So therefore, there is no reason for any other person, any other entity to come and disagree with that agreement at this level. We call upon the head of state of this nation to intervene with speed so that he can save the citizens of Kenya from the suffering that is being caused by some entities of the government.
The health sector has over the past month faced industrial strife from doctors who have, however, since resolved their grievances, clinicians and other key cadres of the healthcare sector, with governors resorting to disciplinary action to force health workers back to work.
County governments have tried to go to the courts, labor courts, and get injunctions for our strike. But the courts are directed on the 15th of December that they engage the health workers, the nurses unions, under the umbrella of Labor Ministry and reach an agreement and file a progress report on the 28th of January. So the strike by the nurses, the clinical officers, has never been pronounced as illegal, and therefore the disciplinary action, the dismissals, the sackings that we are seeing in those counties are null and void.
Nurses say some of their members have not received salaries for a period of 18 months, singling out Vihiga, where some nurses have not received the salaries for 16 months, and Mombasa, where they claim that November and December salaries remain unpaid. The strike that began on the 7th of December continues. Caroline Kamar reporting for Channel 1 News.
Well, that is indeed what is happening in our health sector in as far as the nurses' strike is concerned. And it seems, the government has quite a lot to do in as far as demands where money is concerned, because now schools have said that the monies that have been allocated now that we have resumed in-learning is not enough. So, what's the Exchequer going to do? Well, we'll be keeping tabs on that. Now, Sam, I don't know what you have on your end.
Yeah, I still got a story on why governors are now explaining that they cannot afford an extra coin for medics, okay? And the Star from pages 4 to 5 this morning highlights exactly why and gives an outline of how much medical professionals are earning currently. If you're to take a look at doctors, dentists, pharmacists, and anesthetists. Oh God.
Anesthetist.
Yeah, anesthetists. That one.
It is okay.
I laugh.
As you are.
When I remember, you don't come from where I come from.
Or from where Okinyi comes from.
The entry level, or at least if you get in through job group N, you will be earning 241,000 Kenya shillings. The enrolled nurses, those who have a degree, are currently earning 118,120. The nursing officers who get in through a certificate or at a certificate level are earning 71,870. Clinical officers, those who have a degree, are earning 108,270. For clinical officers, those that have a diploma are earning 83,380. Tuko pamoja this far? Lab technicians are earning 71,120, while lab technologists are earning 82,270. Now let's compare these figures with other professionals. An engineer on job group K at the county level is earning 64,270. Finance, HR, development officers, accountants, and administration officers are earning 45,270. Teachers who have a degree are earning a minimum of 55,000 per month. That is why now governors are posing the question, if I'm giving a doctor 241,000 Kenya shillings, if I'm giving a nurse 71,000 Kenya shillings, and 118,000 if you have a degree, if I'm giving clinical officers 83,000 per month, if I'm giving lab technicians 82,000 per month, Jameni, where do we get extra money to pay you? That is page 4 to 5 of the Star this morning.
Whatever you choose to do with that information,
it's up to you. Now, still sticking with that issue of health, this is just, what the CS Health mentioned, that is Mutai Kagwe, he said, and he actually now is urging county chiefs to end the dispute with health workers. It's just part of what he mentioned, that saying that county governments, they need to engage and agree on various working protocols with these striking health workers. He also said that devolved units should reach a practical return to work formula that will see an end to the long-standing impasse. This actually, just what he mentioned in regards to the striking health workers, which is the doctors, nurses, the clinical officers, and even now the lab technicians. Away from matters health, let me come to the education sector, where now, the elderly, or if you may, those that are 58 and above, have now been allowed to work in school, to now go to school, rather to teach there. Remember that earlier on they had mentioned that those that are 58 and above should just stay at home and probably be working from home. But now the PS Bele Kipsang said that what is important is that they just need to be taking care of themselves, and now they can be able to go back to school and work from there. Again, still when it comes to matters education, students to benefit from 110 million bursaries. You can remember that yesterday also we ran a story of where thousands of students were still at home. Of course, there are various issues of there's the pregnancies, but even in addition to that, there's the fact that most students did not have, or still even up till now, some do not have the fees to return back to school. So now in Kirinyaga County, the governor has launched the disbursement of 110 million bursaries to needy secondary and university students in that particular county. And during the launch, which was held at the county headquarters in Kitus, that was on Tuesday, Waiguru said about 40,000 students had been identified, 32,000 from secondary schools and 8,000 from university. Those are the ones that will benefit from this bursary. This is actually 110 million, which at least will aid in them going back to school.
All right, let's get back to the Daily Nation. And there was this particular piece on the front page in regards to learning under trees. It's been called a sham. And this story is on page 6 of the Daily Nation. And this is in regards to the state of matters in at least Kilifi County, where we had the Regional Development Principal Secretary, that is Margaret Mokima, who was just doing random checks across the county to see the state of learning in some of these institutions. And she was in the company of some reporters at Tomondoni Primary School in Mtwapa, where she found hundreds of pupils who were sitting on logs and stones, a situation which she called, termed rather, as a shocker of her life. So after that, she is said to have hurriedly left without even addressing the media, whose company she was with. And looking at the situation there is that children are learning under trees, as advised by the Education CS, that is Professor Magoha. And as a result of this, they are experiencing some harsh conditions because harsh weather, noise, and other distractions, as well as poor class management, have conspired to deny these children quality education. Teachers were also interviewed here and there, as well as some pupils, and they did say that learning hardly goes on for more than 6 hours before it's interrupted by bad weather conditions, hampering the coverage of syllabus. And this has been experienced more so due to this light rain that we are unexpectedly experiencing as a country, and consequently making learning a virtually impossible situation in these open spaces that the CS had recommended. And also the pupils say that it's such an uncomfortable way of learning, and especially when in areas like the northeastern part of the countries, where temperatures go as high as 36 degrees, and that's on average. They have an average, averages of 36 degrees in this particular areas, so it is very uncomfortable for them to sit under the sun outside, because they do not have the luxury of tree coverage to be able to continue with their learning. So you can read more of that there on the Daily Nation to understand what this state of learning under trees, as was recommended by the CS, how it's progressing. Ray.
Now, okay, let me just make this brief comment in regards to that matter. Let me, 19.5 billion shillings is too little for us, says school heads, and this is directed to the state, and it has been captured on page 9 of the Standard this morning. Well, Belio Kipsang says the money is 25% of the total amount that should be sent to schools in term 1, and school heads have gone ahead and protested the release. they say that the Ministry of Education actually announced yesterday that it had released 14.6 billion to fund the secondary schools and 4.6 billion for primary institutions. Now, Basic Education PS Bele Kipsang said that was 25% of the total amount. Now, the government is using a model that is of free education that is spread in a 50-30-20 ratio for term 1, 2, and 3. Now, this means that half the money is sent first term, 30% the second term, and the balance of it released during the third term. Now, each primary school received a capitation of 1,420 per year, as those in free day schools are allocated 22,244. However, now secondary school heads have questioned the funding formula, saying the money meant for last year's second and third term have been withheld. So, schools had closed for approximately 9 months or 10 months, give or take. Now the school heads are saying that the monies that they have received for this term is not enough, and they're actually saying that the monies that they should have gotten last year has been withheld. Well, are they justified in getting that money that was never spent last year from government? Well, there's a report that has been prepared by Wambiru in regard to what is happening and the state of preparedness that we find our schools in during this time. Remember, we have resumed in learning from that break that we had taken 9 or 10 months. And there's also an opinion poll as we queue up that particular story to just bring us up to speed as to where we are in as far as schools are concerned, is that there's an opinion poll, an opinion piece by Lorraine Olocho, who is a writer and educator, and she's of the opinion that in 2021, online learning can no longer be optional. While learning is a voluntary process, no one has put in a concerted effort to acquire the skills necessary for their dream career and general psychological development. Now, with the current contagion ravaging the country, it has become necessary to modernize. While Jackie Wambiru has the details on that report in regard to what is happening. But now, before we even get to that level, let's cross over to what is happening in Uganda. And Sam is going to be leading point in this conversation. Sam?
Yeah, I will be doing that. I will be engaging Francis Kibiringe, a national investigator with Afrobarometer Uganda, who will be joining us by way of phone to get a feel on what is happening in Uganda this far. Francis, good morning and thank you so much for joining us. Francis, if you can hear me, good morning and thank you so much for joining us. All right, we shall be getting to what is happening in Uganda in just a short while. Just, you know, Uganda decides this morning or this day in as far as whether it will be Museveni or Bobi Wine, and we'll be getting more details from Francis Kibiringe in just a short while. In the meantime, I've been flipping through social media just to get an understanding on what is happening on the ground, and as much as I would like to shift to Uganda, which I will be in a short while, I just cannot but lay focus on what is happening right here in the country. The appointment of Naomi Campbell, I'm very sure it's going to make it into trending topics today. But what's happening with Gladys Bosch-Chalet, who had this to say? She is the Wasingishu women representative who said, my take on the appointment of Naomi Campbell is that we have not maximized on talents in Kenya, that we are known as a home of champions. Valid for her to say that as the women rep for Wasingishu, Sindio. But guess what the response was? Sasa wewe, si unadate mzungu tu hivi juzi. Have you maximized on Kenyan men?
Wait, it's not fair.
That was even uncalled for. Whoever even thought to put it out there, that was totally uncalled for, because personal decisions that we make within our personal lives should not be subject to public discourse. for whatever reason. Exhaust what? That person actually was speaking out of turn, because we all know what happened with Sholei's, both Sholei's relationship. They were separated. And immediately that was made legal, we had reports that her ex was paying dowry that same very weekend. So people expected her to just hold on, cling on to something that has already been certified it's over by the laws of the land, to just wait simply because.
Lakini maximize.
Maximize. What are we talking about maximizing? What are we talking about?
Hata kama kulienda hivyo maximize.
Maximizing, what are we maximizing? Aren't we entitled?
But that comment
everyone is entitled to pick whoever they want to love. Can people just chill? That was out of turn. If you wanted to get married to an Indian, Caucasian, Hispanic, that's okay. What do you mean maximize? Maximize for who? That was out of turn.
Is another one.
Please don't go there. Don't read that tweet out here, Sam.
But it's gonna make way to trending topics, because we need to understand the context of this conversation. Why tie Millicent Omanga? No, okay, it's on
Sam
social media. So,
Manze,
it's actually discussed.
That was everything wrong with that tweet. And I know Kenyans are very savage on Twitter, but we are taking
a break.
We are taking a break. Yes, let's take a break. Let's take a breather.
We'll be back.
We're not doing that. I refuse.
When we are cool.
Enda pale kwa Palume. Wakenya. Kari ndio hii. Oh, sorry, kifungu ndio hii kari. Ni furaha ile niko nayo. Msichali kete. Wacha tupeane mali ya wenyewe.
Ni vizuri tupe watu vitu zao.
Uchukue mali yako. Uchukue mali yako. Hiyo ndio shamra.
Hiyo ndio shamra ya quick bid.
Umeona? Umeamini?
Nimeamini kabisa.
Hii inaitwa nini?
Hii inaitwa kifungu.
Na hii inaitwa nini?
Toyota Probo.
Mpatie kifungu hiyo.
Shika ingine. Ndio ya kuendesha.
Onesha.
Na wewe unaitwa nani?
Naitwa Steven.
Steven nani?
Kahuho.
Nakwambia. Uliwekelea bid ya ngapi, brother?
1772 peke yake.
We. Na ndio amejishindia Pro Box. Sasa hii Pro Box inakusaidia aje?
Itakuwa inanisaidia kazi yangu ya kuuza matunda.
Unaambia je watu wa kwenye nyumbani ambao watakuona na hii?
Wote wacheze na quick bid.
Ukweli. Ni ukweli.
Kabisa.
Sasa tufanyie vizuri. Ingia upate mizigo yako bana. Ingia utoshee, ukae usikie. Inakutosha sawa? Sisi tulikwambia ni aje? Bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini. Bidhaa bora kwenye bei ya chini.
Jiunga na Quick Bid ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bid yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16. Kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bid yako pia kwenye www.quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka, bid ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio hununua. Quick Bid, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
People Sapu, I know you are a sheriff because he has it better than you. Maybe it's high time you also need to look around for a suit, eh? Your terrace is becoming too loud.
Quit your unsolicited advice, but you should remember that Queen A has it all under control, or otherwise. Dude.
I think sane men should stay single for the rest of your life. Kinyanjui, what do you say? Tulu, my brother.
Hyena and Ngoda now flames. Wonders shall never end.
Who are you calling hyena and goat? You small person. Stay out of my life. Bara, you better start talking.
Hey, what do you mean? We were going to talk anyway.
Classmates, every Saturday on KBC.
Every Saturday and Sunday, KBC rejuvenates your weekend with gospel tunes and strengthen your faith with the word. As we bring you Seventh-day Adventist Sermon, Saturdays at 10 a.m.
In the Bible, we can find answers to life's most important questions.
The Holy Mass on Sundays at 9:30 a.m.
Mwana kondoo wa Mungu aondoaye dhambi za dunia. Tazameni yeye anayetuponya magonjwa yetu yote ya mwili na ya roho.
The All Saints Cathedral at 11 a.m.
Pray that the Lord Jesus Christ may raise you to be a witness.
KBC Channel 1.
Welcome back. This is still Good Morning Kenya, and we are still in the headlines. And right now, we just want to switch gears slightly and focus with what is happening in Uganda. Today, it is the day that they get to decide as to whether His Excellency Museveni gets another 5 years, bringing it to a total of 40 years as the president of Uganda, or the mantle gets to be handed over to most of whom are considering to be Bobi Wine, in as much as there are other 9 presidential candidates in the race. A total of 11 candidates today. We get to know if Uganda continues with Museveni or another leader comes into power. And the dailies today have been able to capture this story in, they have fleshed out, in Doreen's words. They have been able to flesh out these stories. The Daily Nation has page 10 and 11 all captured, as well as page 28 in regards to what will be happening in Uganda. And there's a particular statement that was made by Museveni 5 years ago after the general elections. When he was asked about stepping down as president of Uganda, this was his response. How can I go out of a banana plantation that I have planted and that I have started enjoying the fruits? That was his response in regards to handing over power as the president of Uganda. So today, are we going to be seeing a different conversation by end of day, or probably by the end of the week once the results are fully out? As of now, there's a complete internet blackout in Uganda. We cannot be able to keep up with what is happening with the Ugandans, on, especially on social media. So we'll be giving you as much information as we get here at the Broadcasting House. And I just want to rope in my colleagues in regards to this conversation, because looking at issues to do with presidency in Uganda, back in 2005, or rather in 2004, there was a constitutional amendment that was made to the Ugandan, to the 1995 Ugandan constitution, saying that they are putting the presidential age limit at 75. When it came to 2017, His Excellency adjusted that, that is Museveni, and removed that age cap, making him virtually having the possibility of becoming president of Uganda through and through. Are we ready to see a different conversation, even as Kenya, as Uganda's neighbors, as part of the East African community. I don't know what you guys think about this whole situation.
In fact, before we give what we think and what our take is, I've got Francis Kibiringe, who is the Executive Director, the National Investigator for Afrobarometer Uganda. Francis, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. Tell us what the situation is on the ground so far in Uganda.
Well, so far everything looks calm. I've just driven through town. I'm back home, but people are moving slowly, going to their polling stations. Some people are on the road, going on with their normal work. Others are seen driving or riding around. So everything is normal, and so far so good.
It's good to hear you say that everything is normal, because that is not what we've witnessed during previous polls. But what is of concern to you, the emerging issues to you as an investigator during these polls?
Well, as you may already be aware, we published our 2020 Afrobarometer survey the other day, and a couple of issues from the public opinion polls sprang up. One of them obviously being the impact COVID-19 may have on this election, especially in making it not so easy for ordinary citizens to easily go physically to line up and vote. There were some that have had worries about that, and the authorities have come out to issue guidelines to ensure that there will be public safety with regards to COVID-19. And people were also worried that COVID-19 may have made it difficult for the election officials to do their work fairly. And again, yesterday, the chairman of the Electoral Commission came out to assure the people that this is being taken care of. But beyond that, there have been issues, obviously, worries of violence and political intimidation during the campaign. And the other day, the president came out to again assure the people and say no one will be allowed to destabilize the election. So everyone should feel free to go and cast their ballot. And so we watch the election as the day goes by, and so far, as I said, looks like we've had a good morning.
All right, and we've seen pundits argue that the international community is not exactly reining in as it has always been during previous elections. In fact, as of this morning, we've seen some international players pull out from observing the election is in Uganda. What is your take in as far as this move and this emerging issue is concerned?
Well, I think from previous elections, and I have personally participated in election monitoring all the way from the year 2000 when we had our national referendum on choice of political party systems, rather political systems for the country. Election violence doesn't necessarily start or emerge on the morning of voting day, as you know. So stakes build a little as we go through the day or even after the voting day. So there is still genuine worries and fears about electoral violence. It's our prayer and hope that this won't happen. With regards to election observers pulling out, yes, there have been concerns with regards to the accreditation process. We all read that they requested, and about 75% of their requests were not granted. Again, the Electoral Commission in their public address yesterday did say that they had accredited all of them. But we still hope that the few monitors and observers who have been accredited will probably do, who will provide us feedback and be able to give us a sense of what happened. It's unfortunate that people willing to observe the election have not been able to do so for various reasons.
And why, in your opinion, are they pulling out? Why are they not in a position to observe and monitor this election this time around?
You know, it is, as I told you, I have experience observing elections. And I think the biggest concern is that you won't be, if you are not allowed in larger numbers, this is what I would imagine, reading the statement from, for instance, from the American embassy, saying they were not accredited, the numbers that they wanted to deploy, the total number of observers who they wanted to send across the entire country were not accredited. Few of them were. So that would mean that they could go with a fewer numbers, but they would not feel confident about the report they would generate because it will be covered. It will be depending on a fewer number of monitors. So that's a concern, that you can be allowed to go and monitor, but you are not allowed to go as far as you had wanted. Yes?
Yeah, and as much as you've made that point, Francis, I know you and I, together with my producers, know that this interview was supposed to be via Skype or Zoom, but there appears to be internet connectivity issues in Uganda. Why is that happening today?
In our 2016 election, we also did experience internet and social media being shut down on polling day. But this time around, I think 2 days to this day, there were some social media accounts, Facebook especially belonging to the ruling party that Facebook did switch off or disable. And that infuriated government here. The president in his address the other day did say that it was unfair for somebody or agents from far away to determine who should and shouldn't speak in Uganda. So they also moved to cut off social media, and I think from last evening, internet as well was disabled. So again, from what we hear from security is that this is meant to secure the election, to make sure that people cannot saturate rumors. In our own survey of the Afrobarometer, ordinary Ugandans say that they benefit a lot in social media, using social media. They easily get informed, they easily can participate, they easily can get encouraged, but they also did warn, I think a fair number did warn, that it is so easy to consume fake news through social media. So, but obviously, you and me know that there is always benefit in being able to freely communicate and freely connect with others, and having internet and social media not available is certainly not a good thing for this election.
Now, we've seen a section of political analysis argue that there could be higher numbers of voter apathy in Uganda this time around. What's your take on that?
Usually people choosing not to participate in the election is a result of very many considerations. Our survey has indicated that 85% of all respondents we did speak to say they are ready, they are registered to vote, they have verified their voter location, polling station location and the name, and that they have verified their voter details as per the polling electoral commission guidelines. Indications are that people will vote in big numbers. We hope so, but you never know. Issues like this, switching off the internet, or fears over electoral violence, or leaders telling their supporters not to go and vote may play in. But the indications from our survey are that many people are excited and ready to go and cast their ballots. We hope so.
What's your front in as far as the voter chemistry is concerned between the two main contenders, and that is Bobi Wine and the current president, Yoweri Museveni? Francis.
Beg your pardon? You said what is my what?
Voter chemistry between the two main contenders, that is Bobi Wine and Yoweri Museveni.
Honorable Robert Chagulanyi, who you popularly call Bobi Wine, has come out strongly in this campaign to urge Ugandans, especially the youth, to go and register and to have the national voter ID, a national ID to enable them to be eligible to go and vote. So he has rallied people quite seriously throughout his campaigns to say, this is your time, go and get ready to vote. And also, the president has rallied his NRM base. He has, I think his campaign slogan has been securing your future. So he has, his experience in the elections now over 35 years to say, when you go and vote, you will go and secure your future. So in terms of the two candidates, yes, each has rallied to his base. Honorable Bobi Wine to the youth more especially, but also to all Ugandans in general.
And let's talk about, as we were going to bed last night, we were consuming opinion poll results that suggested that Museveni is on the lead in as far as the poll numbers are concerned. What could have informed this trajectory?
The poll results in Uganda, I'm talking about the election results in Uganda, are obviously, like in any country, a reflection of a number of factors. So on one hand, you have the president and the ruling party that is so grounded across the country for over 5 elections. And in all this period, the ruling party has built structures and have the machinery to campaign and campaign effectively. Mr. Bobi Wine, the main challenger, has built his campaign mainly around his popularity, his name recall. We saw in our election poll as close as that of the president. 90% of the people we talked to could recall what his name is, compared to about 96% for the president. So the polls suggest that if elections were held in December, when we conducted the survey, the president would win by about 53%. Those who are registered to vote, and Mr. Chagulanyi would garner about 19% of the vote. But as I said, this is back then. This is in December. 22% of the people we spoke to refused, declined to indicate who they would vote for. Again, that's a big number and could swing either way. So there is a lot to vote for today, and we hope Ugandans will go to the polls and cast their ballot for their favorite candidate.
All right, even as we gear in towards completing this interview, Francis, we've seen a section of people argue that Museveni got this leadership by force, and thus it would not be fair for him to just hand it over. What is your take on this?
Well, there are two sides to that opinion. First, we've seen, and we've heard, we are Ugandans, we've heard parts of the people in the ruling party pronounce that view. But the reality on the ground is that, for instance, in this very election, there are 3 army generals that are campaigning to be elected president. 3 of them. The president is an army general. General Mugisha Muntu, the former army commander, is in the race. And there is General Tumukunde, former minister for security. He is also running for president. Now, it is unprecedented in our elections. As you know, since our independence in 1962, we've never had a peaceful handover of power from one leader to another. But the fact is that we can see 3 army generals. In the past, generals would just walk their way to the national broadcaster and announce that they have taken over government. Now, they go to the polls. Now they run campaigns. They go to the voters and try to ask them to vote them in. That, so there are indications that we will play by the book. We may, some of us may not agree or agree with electoral laws in this country. There has been a lot of demand to improve our electoral laws. In 2016, presidential elections challenge back then between Honorable Amama Mbabazi and the incumbent president in the High Court, the Supreme Court, did make some strong recommendations to improve on our electoral laws, which some of them, and some observers say, have never been implemented. But in as far as all these challenges are concerned, we still see our leaders and our army generals and those who came to government through the barrel of the gun walk down to the ordinary citizens and request them to vote them into office, which to me is a good thing. That slowly and slowly we may improve on our electoral laws, but our leaders will come to us and ask us to vote them in.
All right, Francis Kibiringe, I'm very sure today is going to be a busy day for you as the national investigator for Afrobarometer Uganda. We really do wish you all the best, and we shall be catching up with you in the course of coverage right here on KBC Channel 1 to find out what will be happening on the ground. But in the meantime, good morning, and we're wishing you all the best.
Thank you very much for having us and for tuning in to follow our elections.
Absolutely. You are welcome anytime. We've been speaking to Francis Kibiringe, the national investigator at Afrobarometer Uganda. All intention indicated towards having this interview live, at least through Zoom or Skype. But as we all know, as we speak, there has been internet connectivity issues in Uganda as they gear up towards going to the polls this morning. However, we shall be catching up with some of our guests by way on phone to understand what exactly is happening on the ground. And as we've had Francis talk about, there are issues to do with the electoral laws and the constitution in as far as elections are concerned in Uganda. That will be a conversation that will be shaping up our next segment with a section of political and electoral law leaders in Uganda. But right now, Jane, we've had an opportunity to listen in from Francis. What's your take?
You know, from what he says, he's clearly very careful with his words. And as an East African population, we are also in a watch and wait state. Because even looking at the conversations that are going on social media, most of the feedback that I am seeing is from people who are not in Uganda, people who are hoping that the state is doing well. And we are so glad that we got to hear it from him, saying that it's as far as the elections go, it's peaceful so far. No chaos has erupted, and we hope that continues to be the situation there. And we're also keeping tabs on what is happening, the feedback we are receiving from the different people across social media. But there's a particular piece here. As I mentioned, this story has been covered by at least all the dailies. And there's an interesting piece that I came across here from analysts who are saying that they are skeptical over Bobi Wine's capacity to pull off an election win. And this is because the country, this is Uganda, is still traumatized by the tyranny of brutality that was the dictator Idi Amin. And consequently, Museveni is the one who helped oust Idi Amin out of power, and they still do consider him as their savior. And there is a large part of the population that remain firmly behind President Yoweri Museveni. On the other hand, looking at Uganda's population, it is said that 40% of their population is under the age of 30, and most of whom have only known Museveni as the president. They haven't had the pleasure of experiencing any other leadership, given that, Uganda had got its independence back in 1962, 59 years, and 35 of those have been under one leadership. Are they really in a position to, get another leader, and what does that mean for them as a nation? Ray, I don't know what you have to say in regards to this matter.
Now, in regarding to that issue, or rather what we're talking about now that Uganda is taking to the polls today, I posed a question on social media, and it seems, well, everyone wishes Uganda very well, especially from the Kenyan side, and their concern is on systems, We've been having videos running on social media. We've been seeing military trucks, just being driven through Uganda's streets and such. We've seen other videos here and there trending. But I posed this question and I asked, Uganda is deciding, do you think Bobi stands a chance? Now, one of our viewers who is watching, actually they're streaming live and they're in traffic heading into the CBD, they're on Mombasa Road. They're saying, I wish him all the best, but I think the system will rig him out. Yeah, so...
That is rig Bobi Wine out?
Yes, they will rig him out. That is you know, a Kenyan who is watching us while still streaming it live or through their gadget in traffic. Now, to just also shape this conversation, I want to give you some statistics as have been captured on page 2 of the Standard in regard to tenure of current African leaders. You know, when the United States took to the polls and the subsequent ripple effect that we've seen so much now that Donald Trump, who is the former president of the United States there, becomes the first president to be impeached twice. Yes, and with quite a majority. And there was talk on social media saying that, Donald Trump was acting a little bit African in as far as leadership is concerned. Now, reports, and these are factual, indicate that President Teodoro Obiang Nguema has ruled Equatorial Guinea for more than 40 years. And this is the longest continuous tenure of any current African leader, followed by Cameroon's president, Paul Biya, who took power in 1982. So, Jane, what you said is that some of Ugandans have not experienced any other leadership other than Museveni. And if you go back to Uganda's history, it has been quite something. Remember Milton Obote? Yeah. Remember Idi Amin? You know, every time we talk about Uganda's history, there has to be an aspect of war. And if I can take you back to the quote that you had for us, Jane, there, where Museveni regards Uganda as his banana plantation that he grew, and he has come to a point where he's now enjoying the fruits.
Has only started.
He has started enjoying the fruits. I'm really wondering how long that banana took to grow.
And mind you,
but
this was his statements 5 years ago when he won the elections.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when he began enjoying the fruits.
Yes. So banana
30 years
banana country. What can I say? Banana country. Now this comes up. There's also a twist and turn in terms of the observers. Some mentioned that is that the US has pulled from the observer team. And what Museveni's spokesperson had to say, and this is Don Wanyama, he said the African Union and the East African community would deploy observers, and he could not remember when Uganda last sent monitors to the United States. So clearly...
Which is a valid argument.
Yes. Yeah. So, quoted there is Museveni saying is that, you know, we don't need lectures from foreigners.
Let it remain as is.
In some aspect. And I really applaud him for standing up for, you know, Africanism. The only other person who we got to be very vocal in our times is the late Muammar Gaddafi, who was calling for Pan-Africanism, that Africa needs to stand with Africa for Africa.
The United States of Africa.
The United States of Africa. And that really shook some global powers there, and we saw what happened with Muammar. And now I think Libya is regretting what happened to Colonel Gaddafi there.
Maybe
now,
they are, maybe they're not.
Look at the statistics of what is happening.
The numbers paint a picture towards what you're saying in terms of they could be regretting. But remember, there are 5 factors that are influencing the election in Uganda today. There are 10 challengers facing off Yoweri Kaguta Museveni for the presidential race in as far as that country is concerned. And some of the issues that we could be looking out for, even as we continue having a conversation around decision time in Uganda, include COVID-19 crackdown. Of course, that has had an effect, as we've heard from Francis. We also have the pop star challenger, that is Bobi Wine, and the crowds that he's pulling both on the ground and online, and as well as other 3 factors that we shall be letting you know in just a short while.
Enda pale kwa Palum, Wakenya. Kari ndio hii. Oh, sorry, kifungu ndio hii kari. Ni furaha ile niko nayo. Msijali keti. Wacha tupeane mali ya wenyewe.
Ni vizuri tupe watu vitu zao.
Uchukue mali yako. Wacha uchukue mali yako. Hiyo ndio shamra.
Hiyo ndio shamra ya quick bid.
Umeona? Umeamini?
Nimeamini kabisa.
Hii inaitwa nini?
Hii inaitwa kifungu.
Na hii inaitwa nini?
Toyota Probo.
Toyota Pro. Mpatie kifungu hiyo.
Shika ingine.
Ndio
ya kuendesha.
Onesha.
Na wewe unaitwa nani?
Naitwa Steven.
Steven nani?
Kahuho.
Nakwambia. Uliwekelea bid ya ngapi brother?
1772 peke yake.
We. Na ndio amejishindia Pro Box. Sasa hii Pro Box inakusaidia aje?
Itakuwa inanisaidia kazi yangu ya kuuza matunda.
Unaambia je watu wa kwenye nyumbani ambao watakuona na hii?
Wote wacheze na quick bid.
Ukweli. Ni ukweli.
Kabisa.
Sasa tufanyie vizuri. Ingia upate mizigo yako bana. Ingia utoshee ukae usikie. Inakutosha sawa? Sisi tulikwambia ni aje? Bidhaa bora kwenye bei ya chini. Bidhaa bora kwenye bei ya chini.
Jiunga na Quick Bid ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bid yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16. Kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bid yako pia kwenye www.quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka, bid ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio ununua. Quick Bid, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
Welcome back. We are still glad you are following this conversation in regards to what is happening in Uganda. Of course, on social media, the hashtag is Uganda decides, and I can also see Bobi Wine is trending as well. So many people are sharing their messages of hope and encouragement in regards to Bobi Wine's candidacy as one of the candidates in regards to the presidential race. We are keeping tabs with what is happening on social media. Again, there are some internet connectivity issues, as some would put it, in Uganda, but we are here to give you as much information as we can via all communication platforms. Of course, we're going to be having interviews via phone to just get the real feel and the proper information in regards to what is happening in Uganda. And also just trying to see how far Uganda has come as a country since their independence back in 1962, 59 years later. Most of the, at least 40% of the population is under the age of 30. And looking at the statistics is that most of this, or rather this particular part of the population, have only known one president. The elder population do say that, you know, Museveni is a leader who saved them from a time where they were under the leadership of a dictator and such hard times. So they do consider him as a savior. So today, are we going to be seeing a different conversation altogether in regards to the leadership of Uganda or not? And of course, Uganda has been having a lot of political issues over the years, and more so looking at presidency, given that they are currently under the 1995 Constitution, which was promulgated on the 8th of October back in 1995. And under this Constitution, when it comes to the president's term, it was set at 75 years. In 2004, it was reaffirmed, but in 2017, we did see, back in 2004, we did see Museveni, just come to pull out that the age cap when it comes to the presidency of Uganda. Are we yet to see a different conversation? Guys, when it comes to the constitution of Uganda, we are seeing even critiques coming in to say that they are very skeptical in regards to whether Bobi Wine actually stands a chance, because as is Museveni calls the country, is what?
Banana plantation.
plantation.
Now, talking about banana plantations and want to take a step in history. Remember, if you are of the Catholic faith and if you're a Christian, you'd remember the pilgrims of Uganda, the martyrs of Buganda. Now, in 1967, the constitution abolished the kingdoms altogether.
Yeah.
And Buganda was divided into 4 districts. But as we continue having this conversation, we're also going to be sharing the history of Uganda, what that was previously Buganda. Now we cross over to you, Sam, and talk about matters of the constitution as it is right now.
Actually, that is something that we would like to start discussing right now, because pundits have argued that if Uganda is to get a credible poll at the end of the day, then amendments need to be done not only to the constitution, but enabling legislation through parliament that is going to enable Uganda attain what exactly it desires. And right now, I'm joined by Honorable Dr. Miriam Matembe from Uganda. She'll be telling us, she wears quite a number of crowns, and she'll be letting us know what those are, especially when it comes to constitutional law. Daktari, thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to Good Morning Kenya.
Yes, good morning to you. How is Kenya right now?
Kenya, we are eager and anxious to find out what will be happening in Uganda.
We are anxious as we were, but for us, we hope and trust in our God. You know, our motto is for God and my country. He's the only one who can redeem us and protect us from what is going on in this land.
I tell you, and why the thought, why the notion that only an amendment in law that is going to cure what you term as a constitutional crisis in Uganda?
But is it really an amendment in the constitution, or it is in the type of leadership that is?
Talk to us about it.
If you can remember, in Uganda, it took us 5.5 years to make a new constitution that was greatly participatory. It was being made against an experience that was so painful, dictatorship killers and so on, and Ugandans got together and gave themselves a constitution. A new constitution will hope that Uganda will now be reduced afresh and start afresh and move on. And we put some safety nets in that constitution. We put the term limit that a president should not lead beyond 10 years of 5-term limit, because we had seen that the problem of presidents who want to stay in power long without changing were causing us problems. And when we went to CA, we even added another safety net. We said no, let us also limit the age, because by the time you are 75, you have served this nation the way you want, and we would need other people, new people to come in with new ideas in accordance with the new environment, and we put all this and we started moving on the right road, and our constitution was acclaimed widely as one of the best constitutions, based on people's views, based on a bad experience which people wanted to avoid. But what happened down the road, self-centered leadership led to removing of all these safety nets. We have ended up with retrogression in terms of democratic governance. Now, if you return the term limit and change the constitution without changing the attitude and mentality of the leaders who are self-centered and power-hungry, would you have made any difference?
Good question that you pose there. Could there be any difference? And thus, the concern is the legal framework currently as it exists in Uganda sufficient enough to promote change or what Ugandans decide or desire?
As you know very well, Ugandans desired that constitution which was changed. What they desired was a constitution that, limited the powers of the president, limited the term and so on. The moment it was changed and it was, I call it murdered. And now the president uses even the legislative law that is there, even the institutions that are there. It is now more of just one person, dictator. Even laws which exist, are they being followed? For instance, when you look at this, the law that prevents people from organizing, from politicking, you know what is happening in Uganda. We are in retrogression. The laws, even the few laws that are there, even the constitution, the provisions that are there, are not being followed. Uganda does not understand something called constitutionalism. We need to know that there is a constitution and then constitutionalism. Constitutionalism is a journey which you take when you lead in accordance with the constitution that you have made to yourself.
Daktari,
I want to say that Africans should not deceive themselves. It is about the attitude of the African leaders, the leaders who are self-centered and they are power-hungry.
Fair point.
Service-oriented.
Fair point that you make right there, Daktari.
In that perspective.
I would like you to kindly clarify to our viewers in Kenya this morning what you call a misunderstanding, what you term as a total disregard of the law. How does it happen in the wake and in full glare of Parliament and the judiciary in Uganda? Where are the checks and balances?
In Uganda, the principle of separation of powers does not apply.
Okay.
In terms of the law on the record, in the papers, yes, there is separation of powers. But when it comes to practice, it does not work. The president takes authority over all these institutions, and what has caused this, by the way, is patronage, is financialization of elections. It is not the right leaders that we get into parliament. Election is not about choosing the right leaders. It is about who has more money. People are driven by money. They are looking at elections or parliamentary work as a job, not as a service, and they fear to lose like the judiciary. The militarism, the fear that has been caused by, militarization. In Uganda, I am telling you that we are on the road back to, you remember everything, the disappearance of the people, killing of the people. Why should, elections be like a war? If you descend now on Kampala town now and you see all the armies on the road or whatever, and the declaration of the leaders, we shall crush you, we shall finish you. The laws and the constitution on the paper are not followed.
All right. And talking about things not being followed, frameworks not being adhered to, where exactly did Uganda get it wrong in as far as crafting the law is concerned?
Let me tell you, the laws, you go to read the laws and know in the constitution, the judiciary. The judiciary is supposed to be independent. You hear? The parliament is supposed to be independent. The three are supposed to be working in relation with one another. But now, the parliament surrendered its powers to the executive. The judiciary, they fear. They cannot stand up and decide what is right. They fear for their jobs, they fear for their lives. But don't you know what is happening in Africa? Is it Uganda alone? You know what happened to your next neighbor in Tanzania? I was observing elections by virtual observation. You know what happened in Tanzania? And afterwards, after this election, the murder and so on, things appear to be as normal.
And talking about things...
In Kenya, we admire Kenya. We are admiring you, by the way, right now. That handshake. Why should a person think that he's the only one who can lead a nation and anybody else who tries to compete? No.
Well, on a lighter note or in a heavier note, but do we say this is Kenya? But moving on to what exactly needs to change, what amendments need to be embraced, what breath of fresh air does Uganda need right now for them to be able to achieve what they exactly desire in as far as leadership is concerned?
I will repeat again to you. I am not looking at the change of the law. Because even if you change the law, that doesn't mean that the army will not come in and do what it wants. What Africa needs to change is mentality, attitudinal change of the people of Uganda, attitudinal change of the leadership, where you have people who look at leadership as a service, not as a way of making money, not as a way of enriching your relatives and that kind of thing. It is attitudinal change. We need a new mind state, not only in Uganda, but in Africa in general. Because right now we are in elections, but elections have been about who can give much more money. It is not about capacity. It is not about quality leadership. It is not about ability. It is about who has much money. And then those sharks who have been corrupt, who have been stealing money, they go out there, they pay people money, and they come into parliament. And their role is not to serve people or to change and make good things, but to also enrich their stomach.
All right. Honorable Doctor, kindly stay on the line. We will be engaging you much more in the course of this conversation. But right now, I'd like to rope in.
How long? How long?
Yeah, just stay on the line. Getting back to you. But I would like to bring in my co-host, that is Jane, who's right here with me in studio. You've heard what African countries are saying about this country. We admire Kenya for the spirit of the handshake. What you've got to say about that, Jane?
You know, when we hear it from
other people,
somebody in a different country, it reminds us of the little things that to some extent we may take for granted because we have had different experiences altogether. Here in the country, we are also not having as easy a time. You know, there's so much political conversation going, but there they are. Daktari is saying that they are admiring our country for the simple act that we considered as the handshake, but to them, that is such a significant thing for a nation to be able to see from leaders who were thought to be, different sex, different opinions altogether. And I just want to also bring in Ray and Doreen in regards to this. Ray only smiled kidogo when she mentioned, they admire Kenya for just the handshake that happened on the steps of Nyayo House.
I mean, what is not to smile about that? I mean, from outside looking in, Kenya has made quite some strides, and even I can take you back to the annulment of the presidential elections by now retired CJ, that is David Maraga. We got to the annals of history. So yes, Kenya looks very forward thinking in as far as matters of legislation as well as matters of election. And I like what our guest on call has mentioned and has posed quite the question there. Why should elections be like war? Remember, we're still having this conversation even here in Kenya where we're talking about a rotational presidency so that we do away with the winner takes it all. And I want to take it back to you, Sam, there, and the question, Why should elections be like war? That's what Ugandans are feeling right now.
All right, and getting back to Honorable Doctor, who's still with us, Mariam, who's still with us on phone. Asante sana for agreeing to be on hold with us right here on the show. But tell us, what are the key issues that you're observing from your point of view in as far as this election is concerned?
You know, from my point of view, as you know, in Uganda, there is fear about leaving power. And so if there is any credible or seemingly credible member of opposition comes on board to contest elections, then that calls for violence, for fire, for intimidation, for all sorts of things. Now the issue at hand is that when this young man, Bobi Wine, came up, it was like when refugee came up. I have seen Uganda during like 86, 96 and a little bit up to 2001. We were doing well, we were moving forward. As long as the leader doesn't have any seemingly credible person to threaten his power. But the moment refugee came on board, that was a big threat. Violence started from there. Militarization, monetization of politics and that kind of thing. And now in this season, we have this young man whom you know, Bobi Wine. And Bobi Wine coming like all the young people, and you know the people of the Bobi Wine era were born, some of them were born when the Form 7 came to power. And so they have seen their third unemployment, you know, all these kind of factors. And they want change. So when they came up with this mind of wanting change, instead of now going to elections, we are really like at war. It is like we are in a war. Intimidation, people are being killed, people are disappearing, people, you know, they are so scared, all because of wanting to stay in power. And then the other people are also saying, we are also come by and by. So that is now what is at stake in this country.
All right. Honorable Dr. Matembe, we wish you all the best today. I'm very sure it will be a busy day, and we shall keep linking up with you in the course of coverage of Decision Time in Uganda right here on KBC Channel 1. In the meantime, good morning and have a fruitful day.
Okay, thank you very much. Pray for us that we don't go out of chaos, that we remain peaceful.
Trust me, you remain in our prayers, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Asante sana. So we've been talking to Honorable Dr. Matembe from Uganda. He has participated in constitutional reform in as far as that country is concerned. So those pundits that argue that constitutional law needs to be amended in as far as election is concerned, he says that the law is not the problem. The letter and spirit to implement is, however, a concern for Ugandans. What's your take in as far as Uganda's Decision Time is concerned? You can hit us up on Twitter at KBC Channel 1, hashtag Good Morning Kenya, and let us know exactly what your thoughts are. Ladies, you've heard from the gentleman. What's your take?
Now, let me just come in with some bit of feedback that I've gotten on social media. And this is something that Regina had actually mentioned earlier on when we were on a break. Someone here says that this is at KOT Loyals. He says that what happened to Muammar al-Gaddafi should have happened to the likes of Museveni. Too bad Uganda does not have enough oil to get enough attention from the West. Then there's another tweet by one Elijah, who says, what if? Just what if Museveni concedes to his opponent? D.
Oh, wow. Just before Ray picks it up, I want to just come with that question that she had posed. Why do elections have to be like war? And if you can remember, on 21st of November, you know, when this again was in Zimbabwe, just picking up from there, because it's been like a cycle, especially when it comes to African leaders and leaving power. You can remember that in that particular country, it was a tough. The military had to literally remove the Zimbabwean president as at that time. That was Robert Mugabe. When it comes to Uganda, the CAP puts it at 75 years, so which just makes it very difficult, I mean, for this particular president. But again, we've been seeing a tussle here and there, and for what we call the pop star who has now become a politician, that is Bobi Wine, saying that over time, especially during the campaigns, it has been marred with violence. We have seen some of people in his campaign trail, some have had to lose their lives. Even there was a particular, you know, video going around on social media of this particular guy who was just holding, you know, the placard with his image. The guy was shot to death simply because of that. And that puts a question of democracy again when it comes to Africa. And I want to pick a quote from Wallace Ayinka. This is a Nigerian playwright as well as an author who has been at the forefront when it comes to matters democracy and championing for democracy. And actually he mentions that he is backing Bobi Wine, you know, just as an author, as a playwright, as a Nobel laureate, simply because of the issue of democracy. Because according to him, he just does not really get why, you know, especially when it comes to most of African leaders, when it gets to your time and your tenure is over, why do you need to feel like you need to keep staying in power? When you talk about systems, you cannot fail to talk about democracy.
Hey. Whoa.
Systems and democracy.
You know, whenever you mention systems, kuna system ya majambazi, right?
Kuna deep state system.
Kuna deep
lazima
state
tu ungeingiza hapo.
Lazima system ya majambazi.
In the spirit of entertainment Thursday, lazima tu.
Well, in spirit of entertainment, kuna system unit.
Bora system.
Kuna hiyo pia ni system. Na pia kuna system when we're talking about shule.
Na kila mahali kuna kuanga na systems. For some reason systems zinakuanga tu zikiru.
Hata hapa
kuna systems.
Tukiongea mambo ya
That's why I said when you talk about systems,
na watu wa system, kuna watu wa system wakisikia Arsenal ina lead from behind.
Wachana na hiyo story.
Hiyo tuendelee tu kwa Uganda. Iko in charge. Hiyo system inakuanga rada sana. Tukicheza fani hapa, kuna system ya producer hapa.
It's tricky.
You wanna come. So kuna system.
We leave the system conversation.
Yes. So because there are systems.
Yes, yeah, there are.
And system has power.
Yes. Depending on uko wapi. Cheza kama wewe. Kuna system. So there's someone who's actually saying he wishes Bobi Wine all the best, but with the shutdown of the internet,
it's about to be
he
tricky.
needs to be preparing himself for a loss. Well, that is none other than Willie Otunga on Twitter saying, well, that's a sign that things might actually go south for Bobi. But remember, these are your views, so keep them coming. They do not represent the stand of the corporation or even the show. We're reading the feedback as it comes as we focus on our neighboring country, and that's just our neighbors, that is Uganda there. You know, watu wa Kampala.
And you know what, Ray? I've got a dedication to all Arsenal fans.
Awesome. What was system?
It was a track, or it is a track that was done by Chameleonaire back in the year 2006. You look better from behind.
Booyah.
We'll be back after this break, guys.
Enda pale kwa Palum. Wakenya. Kari ndio hii. Oh, sorry, kifungu ndio hii kari. Ni furaha ile niko nayo. Msichali keti. Wacha tupeane mali ya wenyewe.
Ni vizuri tupe watu vitu zao.
Uchukue mali yako. Enda uchukue mali yako. Hiyo ndio shamra.
Hiyo ndio shamra ya quick bid.
Umeona? Umeamini?
Nimeamini kabisa.
Hii inaitwa nini?
Hii inaitwa kifungu.
Na hii inaitwa nini?
Toyota Probo.
Mpatie kifungu hiyo original.
Shika ingine.
Ndio
ya kuendesha.
Onesha.
Na wewe unaitwa nani?
Naitwa Steven.
Steven nani?
Kahuho.
Nakwambia. Uliwekelea bid ya ngapi brother?
1772 peke yake.
We. Na ndio amejishindia Pro Box. Sasa hii Pro Box inakusaidia aje?
Itakuwa inanisaidia kazi yangu ya kuuza matunda.
Unaambia je watu wa kwenye nyumbani ambao watakuona na hii?
Wote wacheze na quick bid.
Ukweli. Ni ukweli.
Kabisa.
Sasa tufanyie vizuri. Ingia upate mizigo yako bana. Ingia utoshee ukae usikie. Inakutosha sawa? Sisi tulikwambia ni aje? Bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini. Bidhaa bora kwenye bei ya chini.
Jiunga na Quick Bid ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bid yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16. Kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bid yako pia kwenye www.quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka, bid ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio hununua. Quick Bid, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Before killing Sushim, we must kill Ashok and make the rumors of his death come true. After that, I will send Sushim a message which he is waiting for. Sushim will definitely come to meet you.
I wanted to share a lot with you, Karniki. A lot. I wanted to tell you the truth about me. I wanted to make you realize that not every Magadh citizen is bad.
You have hurt me the most now. I shared every wound on my heart.
Ichok is searching for you desperately. He won't let go of any chance to kill you. Do you want to give him that chance?
Oh, my baby, replay. Playing my favorite tune. Oh, yeah, chance I'm ready your love. Oh, already your love. My shaggy. I don't know passing us on your baby. My honey.
Tunakupa burudani.
Na umbea, yani stories zinazo trend kwenye mitandao ya kijamii.
See baby, now we are two in one. We are two in one.
Interview kali za wasanii wapendao.
Mguu pande panda milima. Aoye izungushie hapo ma. Kama una
ndani ya March of Life kupitia KBC Channel 1 na Pwani FM.
Kuanzia mida ya saa 3 mpaka mida ya 5 kamili asubuhi. Ukiwa nami nite Ken Wanjibi.
Mimi ni Marco. Keep it locked.
Malewa.
On the next episode of
Naona kama kiasi hiki hizo zitatosha, sio? Pesa si za kwangu. Kwani wewe unaonaje?
Lazima ujue senti zatoka wapi unazokula. Sikujilia tu na kujistarehesha na nini kama tuonavyo hapa TV, makochi na nini.
Si chake hicho chumba, ni muongo. Nitakusema na wewe nyamazeni, nitakusema si chako. Waacha babako baki kopesha kahawa na mahamri. Wareresha tu zako Malindi. Nyo.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
People disapprove. I know you are jealous because he has it better than you. Maybe it's high time you also need to look around for a seat, eh? Your jealousy is becoming too loud.
Quit your unsolicited advice, but you should remember that Queen A has it all under control, or otherwise. Dude.
I think sane men should stay single for the rest of your life. Kinyanjui, what do you say? Through my brother.
Hyena and Ngoda now flames. Wonders shall never end.
Who are you calling hyena and God? You small person. Stay out of my life.
Bara, you better start talking.
What do you mean? We were going to talk anyway.
Classmates, every Saturday on KBC.
Welcome back. This is still Good Morning Kenya. In the headlines today does continue. We are giving you a special look into what is happening in Uganda as they go to the polls today, and we welcome your feedback. We appreciate you for staying with us this far. Hashtag is still Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. At KBC Channel 1 remains to be our official station handle. At Jane Mamboi, at Sam W. Njoroge, at Doreen Arange, and at Ray Manyara is how you can reach us individually and share with us your thoughts. Hashtags are trending on social media. Hashtag Bobi Wine is trending. Hashtag Uganda Decides is trending. And we just also want to have a quick look, how Uganda is doing. I can see there's a tweet that has been put up a while ago by, I believe, to be someone who has, or rather is in Uganda, saying that people have already queued. Let me just quickly pull it up. Saying people were up and early, ready, queuing, and they are ready to cast their votes. That is Alice MC Cool. Early voters queued up in Buzinga, Kampala, but the ballots haven't yet arrived. One man told me that last time he voted, he had to wait until 2 p.m. to start voting. Is it going to be a different conversation today? We will be keeping you up to date in regards to all that is happening. Remember, there are a total of 11 presidential candidates, 2 of whom are considered to be the ones who are putting up the biggest challenge. That is the current president, Yoweri Museveni, and Bobi Wine, a former pop artist. But Bobi Wine has so much support from the younger part of the population, which constitutes to about 40% of Uganda's population. And most people are saying, yes, he stands a chance. Another part of the population saying, well, he doesn't really quite stand a chance against Museveni. And at one point in the past, Museveni did refer to him, and I quote, as our grandson, the undisciplined Bobi Wine. And since 2018, we have seen Bobi Wine being arrested. Allegations of him being tortured have also surfaced on both mainstream and social media just because he has been speaking against the system, the state, the power that be. He has been an MP before he declared his official intent for, running for president for Uganda. And here we are. The time has come for the state to decide. But who really is Bobi Wine? Robert Chagulanyi.
Sentamana.
This man, Bobi Wine, watu wanasema amesumbua Museveni.
He has just bobbed up the wine and made it vintage. And you know what?
He be whining.
Bobbed out the wine.
He be whining and dining.
Bobby be wine.
The ghetto president.
And in a short while, we'll be speaking to Jose. Chameleon.
Chameleon.
Yeah. Nina balu balu baby.
Huyo.
Now mami mena wetu way.
Jesus.
Ajana balu balu baby.
Veje tunakula midomo hapa.
City life manze.
Lakini bora tumetoa hiyo tune. That is the most important thing.
Sijui because ni Thursday nienda TBT.
Na bado by the way.
Na umeniacha.
Oh.
Umeniachia watoto.
We started it so well. Then you just had to Twende, Doreen, unajua the next part?
Anzisha.
Sam, just be quiet.
Hiyo part ya kuachiwa watoto ndio staki kuvalidate for a boy shower.
Was that what was on your mind?
But I understand you because what is catching on right now on social media is the Stingy Men Association. And I tell you, we are working towards the men's conference that happens around mid-February. Why men are scared about this, I don't know. But now,
we're not.
When you talk about Jose Chameleon, what comes into my mind is that particular jazz.
By the way, I love the fact that you mentioned Valentine's. We are coming from Merry Christmas, Happy New Year
to Valentine's.
Guess what's trending right now? Valentine's is coming.
Where's your boyfriend?
Lonely.
Alone. I even don't know what's going on.
Valentine's is coming.
But the real though.
Where is your boyfriend?
You are sitting alone. Alone.
But before we get to the Valentine
Rea
conversation,
kozile za bougie me.
Like I don't do that.
I don't know what's going on.
before we get to this conversation about Valentine, Ray Kwanza kona issues with this Stingy Men Association, which we'll be getting to in a bit. But we are set to have a conversation with Jose Chameleon to just understand his perspective as an artist, seeing that somebody who was in the industry is, decided to take on this path, and he has constantly put his life at risk. He has risked his safety, his family's safety, just to see change in their country. We will be having Jose Chameleon in not too long. Na sijui kama tutampatia intro tutaimba before akuje, si ndio?
Ready. Nisha line up tracks ka 3-4 manze.
Mimi nataka turudi hiyo ya.
Njoki.
Mimi nikanao
ilikuwa inaanza hivi. Alafu inaanza
hiyo track mimi sitaimba.
So you just watch.
Hata tutaki wimbe.
Juu nimenormalize kuacha. Na sitaki watoto.
Umenormalize kuachiwa.
Nimenormalize kuacha.
Umenormalize kuacha.
Si kuachwa.
Na utaki uachiwe.
So mimi usiniachia watoto by the way.
Umewachwa ama unawacha?
Basi tutakuachia information about Bobi Wine.
Unajua ile
we get to know him better even for the benefit of our viewers.
Unajua ile track nitakuwa nikingara nayo? Mina valo baby.
No damn, you can't just sing that song that way.
I know.
Achana valo darling.
God no.
Alaleo.
No.
But imagine Sam may try.
I hope the producer didn't have our guest online to listen into that. He might actually decline giving us an interview after hearing you sing it that way. He might actually decline.
Lady Bams, what to bonge?
Unajua wengine wetu tulishajikubali kuimba na sisi huku.
Yeah, but
unaona venye mimi ninakuanga na shida na kusema gifts.
Banze tuletewe.
That is me and singing.
Mimi naingoja.
Mimi najikubali. Ni kama
ujijue na ujikubali.
I hope that you've never tried to sing Baby to Bed, a lullaby.
Lady Bams,
you would give the baby chills.
I have even to adjust my sitting
actually
position.
Told, yeah? Let me just give you a fun fact about children. When babies when they get scared, they actually have a running stomach.
It's true.
They diarrhea. So you can imagine if you get to sing a lullaby to a baby.
In my defense,
then they end up getting scared. They have a running stomach. Don't do that.
In my defense, I usually don't have to sing them to sleep. And this is an experience I've gone through.
What do you do?
All I need to do is to hold them close, lay them on my chest, then just do a hum with my deep bass. And then it's done.
Hum with the deep bass and the baby sleeps.
Like they
works,
feel,
by the way.
They feel a certain kind of way.
No,
and I
honestly,
literally watch them get to bed. And that for me is an experience enough.
The vibration from your
vibration
voice,
from my
chest.
courtesy of my voice.
Underline note. Vibrations. What you do with that info
is
totally
up to you.
Up to you. But please, for the sake of the upcoming interview, please don't sing Jose's track like that. He might actually decline to give us
your interview.
Producer amefungua mlango, so meaning anytime from now, it will be landing right here. And then we'll be getting an opportunity to just talk to him, understand what is happening on the ground. We've seen a section of artists in Uganda throw their weight behind Bobi Wine. What exactly does this mean? And pundits argue that of the 5 factors that will be influencing the outcome in as far as decision time in Uganda is concerned is the presence of the pop star challenger. All right?
Yes.
So we'll be getting to understand more from Jose Chameleon.
And key to note is that it has gotten to a point where Bobi Wine resorted to walking around wearing a bulletproof vest.
All the time.
Fearing for his life, fearing he could be taken out any time, since he made his intentions when it comes to running for presidency public. But of course, so many people, part of the population, have been supporting, especially those who are considered to be under the poverty line, because looking at his background, he grew up in one of the largest slums in Uganda, and he has always been about growth, bringing people together, helping elevating the community, and bigger parts of the population that are living in the slum areas have always been behind him, supporting him, and wanting him to be the change that they want as a population. So we will be getting to know him better. He's 38 years old, the biggest challenger in the 2021 Uganda elections. So let's see what force he is as. And but there was this question on social media that what if, just what if, Museveni does concede defeat? What if?
No, before
Bobi Wine becomes
I feel like
the
that,
president?
I feel like that was our 2002 situation, 2002, 2003, when
the Kibaki...
not everyone expected the late President Moi to concede defeat and hand over power to Mwai Kibaki. But guess what happened? He literally left his lieutenants at
But
State
trust
House.
me, we are not leaving the banana plantation anytime soon.
Yeah, but he literally
just started.
He literally left his lieutenants at
Yes.
State House, got into the car,
Drove himself.
and drove like akaonyesha, by the way, si mchezo, it's a wrap for me.
And I saw what you did there. I saw what you did there. And you remember how the old Mercedes that he used to drive, ilikuwa ikionekana, unajua, Moi amefika. And the fact that he decided to actually drive himself to go and hand over power for the state, that was something that meant so much for the country, for us as Kenyans. Now we are in a time where we're in a different, under different leadership over the years, and Ugandans, from the interview that we had earlier on, saying that they admire us as a country, we also had our time where we saw the change that we hoped for. Could this be the same for Uganda today? What if Museveni concedes defeat? Sam?
We've got Charity Ambisiwe, who's joining us by way of phone. Charity, good morning.
Good morning.
How is Uganda this Thursday?
This Thursday, Uganda, it is calm. It looks like it wants to rain. Maybe it is... I know it is not doomsday in Uganda. The sun is not brightly out like it usually comes out at this time. But yes, the situation is calm in the city center and most parts of the country.
Fantastic. What are some of the top issues that you shall be observing in the wake of the ongoing polls in the country?
Now, part of the issues that we will be observing and looking out for is the question of the BBVK machines. Are they working well? How long does a voter take at the polling station? Because it is a COVID-19 election and we had expected that there will be washing places, but we already see in about 60% of polling stations observed in the morning. There's no place to wash your hands. And we shall also be looking out for whether there is social distancing and people are wearing the masks, because we're conducting the election in a COVID-19 perspective. So it is important to see whether the promises that the Electoral Commission made before we went to the polls actually have come to pass. And then we shall also be asking the question of at what time did the materials arrive, whether voters would easily access their names in the voters register, those who have national IDs and those who have voter location slips, and those who don't have any of those documents but they're 100% sure they went through the voter register process. We are also looking out for whether PWDs inclusion, the question of inclusion, PWDs, pregnant women, youth are being allowed to vote without any distraction. And we are looking out for intimidation, hate speech, and we are looking out generally for the environment within which the election is being cast.
Let's talk about the environment within which the election is occurring. And given past experiences, what would you say, what would your take be about the enabling environment?
Now, the environment is already harsh, as you notice. I am on KBC, but I could not be on Zoom for people to see me by face. We are in a total internet shutdown, a thing that we anticipated even before we got onto the election day. But we knew that by the time it is elections, we will not have internet, and we downloaded VPN. We thought we could bypass the internet, but we have not. Some of us have failed, even with the modified VPN. So it has distracted us a lot. That's not a good environment to work in, because the media houses are also getting restricted information. Accreditation for media houses was not holistic. They selected those that seem to have a bit of inclination towards government reporting, and those who were critical of what is happening were left out of accreditation. That's the kind of environment in which we are. The observers also, the biggest domestic observers, are there as what we would call voters. We are observing as voters, and we are observing as citizens of Uganda, not as accredited observers, which is really weird for this election. And we are also, with the only accreditation we got as SEDU was the accreditation for voter mobilization. So we are there as voter educators. But we can tell you clearly that it is an indictment on the process, because shortly before we went for the election, the Ugandan citizens, 60% of them said they trust local and international observers.
Mhm.
But when you see the international observers pulling out of the process,
Exactly.
and you see local observers,
Yeah, continue, Charity.
okay, and you see the local observers not accredited, then it tells you that the confidence levels in the process are already in question. And also it tells you that when we are done with the process, and there is a lot of disgruntlement, because I can almost predict that there will be very many people questioning the results that will come out of this election. When there is disgruntlement, who is it that is going to provide information to allay the fears of people that would have been involved in the process,
Okay.
now that the observer has largely been locked out?
And talking about observers being locked out, what then becomes the role of the region? And I'm talking about the East African region when it comes to, the election that is currently ongoing in Uganda.
Now, we have the East African observers and IGAD observers, but they came on too late into the process, and they should have had boots on the ground. What usually happens with those observers when they come, they work with local observers. And the reason they work with local observers is because local observers already have the context, and they have the people on ground. And yes, we are in touch with many of them. The Women's Situation Room is also here and working around the clock. They even have call centers, but they are largely looking at the question of peace. Now, when they work with the local observer has a network on the ground. Like, for example, I am observing, even if we are not accredited, because our observers are voters in the first place. So because I have a database of their names and numbers, I'm calling one by one of the 1,000. I cannot call all the 27,000 individuals who belong to SEDU. So we sampled 1,000 from the different parts of the country, and they're the ones we are calling, and we ask them the questions that are on the tool, and then they respond for us, and it's that we shall use to produce data to do with the process. But we shouldn't have been going through the back door to do this.
And talking about the back door, that's Charity, should we or should we not expect voter apathy in the ongoing election in Uganda?
In the countryside, I can almost bet that there's going to be a lot of voter apathy, because the voter education was poorly done, and it was done in small scale towards the end of the election. The bodies that are mandated said they did not have sufficient funds to carry out voter education. Even civil society has already been constrained. So yes, we carried out a voter mobilization campaign, which we had hoped to continue through election day, because the Electoral Commission had said we can go ahead and educate people even on voting day. But with the internet down, it becomes hard, because most of the material had been online, and since the demographics were about young people, we had hoped to find more young people online and show them, since they're first-time voters, on how they could vote. But now, here they are off the internet, and we have to meet them physically, and we cannot be everywhere at the same time. So for that matter, we decided to put our teams in just the hotspot areas to do the voter education. So there's going to be a lot of apathy. I predict. I'm just predicting. But until the end of the process, can we know for sure?
Fair enough, Charity. And what of the issue on generational gap? To what extent is it likely to influence the outcome of the ongoing election in Uganda?
The generation gap.
Yeah.
How is it likely to affect the outcome?
Exactly.
Okay, so the generation gap, like you are saying right now, the demographics are saying we have 75% young people, and when young people vote, they want to actually stay back to keep their poll, because they have been telling me, even before we went to the polls, we did a survey with them, and they said even when we cast our vote, the most important thing is to keep that vote until the time of counting, and I see for real that my vote matters, that my vote counted, that I came out of my bed to vote and express my will, and it is being captured the way I want. But the police has also said that you will not be allowed at the polling station. So this generation gap is going to cause a bit of violence and a bit of I think unrest in some places, like in Wakiso. Many of the places this morning have not received material again by 9 a.m. And the young people told the police constable to their faces at the polling stations where our observers are, that if I can, the materials are not here, we are going to protest. Now, that is the generational gap, that the young people with energy feel they want to express themselves, and they're not going to be shocked by even guns and people wearing uniform all around them. The elderly people still feel, no, the young people are a bit so dramatic. We want to retain status quo. We can't trust political parties. What we saw happening in political parties, the people who are 40 years and above, the people who are in SMEs, small, medium enterprises, feel like, no, we want to retain status quo, because we have seen that one person is DP today, tomorrow they are NUP, the other day they are FBC. They are not even steady in their own political parties. They don't seem to have a credible alternative for us. And so for that reason, they feel like, no, the better thing to do is you stay with the devil that you know than the angel that you do not know. So that is going to be a generational challenge.
All right. We get you, Charity, and honestly, we do wish you all the best today. I'm very sure it will be a busy day for you, and we hope the sun comes out in Uganda in the course of the day.
I hope the sun comes out, really. Thank you so much, KBC.
You are welcome, and have a fantastic day. Glad to speak to you this morning.
And I'm glad to speak to you too.
Thank you so much, and all the best.
Thank you.
Asante. So that has been Charity. Asante Nashkuru Pierre, joining us by way of phone, because it's been a challenge getting these people on Zoom, courtesy of the internet challenges that are currently ongoing in Uganda in the wake of the election that is currently ongoing. Also remember that some international observers have pulled out from this particular election. So what does that exactly mean for the outcome moving forward? Factors such as COVID-19, the generational gap, the role of Uganda within the East African region, as well as the pop star challenger, that is Bobi Wine, factors that are likely to influence the outcome of the polls. We will be right here, sure and steadfast, to brief you on each and every activity that will be coming forth from Kampala, or is it Champala, today. Thank you so much for your time. We are not yet done. We are taking a breather. When we return, Doreen Range will be up next with the Entertainment Thursday item of the day. Actually, I'm told, courtesy of time, we are not taking a break. We're simply handing it over to her. Doreen, thank you so much for making time. What do you have for us?
Wow. Wow. Anyway, we're not taking a break like you mentioned, and we're jumping right straight to our entertainment item of the day. Being a Thursday, definitely, it's entertainment. So we want to now talk about comedy. And our topic is just basically to better understand the growth of comedy industry in this country. On set, I'm joined by Stephen Okoth, aka Kish.
Yes.
Let's start from there.
Sure.
Kish.
Yes.
Stephen Okoth is actually your real name.
Stephen Okoth is my real name.
Where did Kish come from then?
Kish is my signature.
Is your signature. And every artist, whether comedian, musician, whichever, they have to have a signature name.
Sure.
So when we talk about comedy, definitely we always have this mindset of it probably is a stand-up comedy because that's what we are mostly used to. So how would you describe your comedy styles?
Basically mine, I derive it from storytelling. I do storytelling mostly. So in that storytelling, that is where I put my comedy inside. Yes, so basically mine is just storytelling and enacting scenes. Yes, in this storytelling, I'm enacting scenes. So I'm not just telling stories and you're not seeing the real picture. So mine is doing story and telling the story by enacting scenes. Yes.
So your style of comedy is telling stories,
Yes.
not what you're used to, the kawaida one or stand-up comedies, you know, someone coming on a platform and there they are talking to us about some things here and there. But for you is the storytelling kind of comedy.
Yes.
So how different is that from what we are used to? Or basically when you talk about storytelling, what exactly are you talking about?
Basically,
is it stories like you just, you know, decide, okay, how is that process like for you?
Basically for me, stories zangu zina come from I've grown and I've lived in Nairobi for the longest time. I was born and bred here. So basically ni zile story tu za mtaa. Mimi ni mtu wa Kanairo. In fact, some of my fans wameanza kubandika my YouTube channel that ni Kanairo.
So they're moving from hustle ya Nairobi?
Yes.
To Kanairo.
To Kanairo.
Okay.
Yes, the YouTube channel is hustle ya Nairobi.
Yeah.
So there are stories that tukika mtaani wase uzipiga tu kwa base. Ama some experiences that umeka mtao, either umesnachiwa kitu ama umeona mtu akisnachiwa kitu. Those are stories that aupigiagi wase wengi.
And I feel like if you've lived in Nairobi, like there's no one who doesn't have that story.
Oh, no. Ni wengi wamepitia hiyo mkono.
Kasi simu ni bag, kasi... It's just something.
Yes, kama si bago ni umuzi wa nini fake, TV fake. Yes, umeshikwa tenje fake. The vitu zina happen. So you go home in the evening and you tell your spouse ama your friends that majamani nilionyeshwa Nairobi leo. So but ni a small circle that unaambia. But the story don't get out. So for me, now nimekam kupiga hiyo story sasa. But nikiipiga nataka pia uione. Yes. It's like leo nilienda town, so we are seeing you going to town.
Yeah, because actually I was watching some of the clips, you know, from YouTube, and there's this particular one which had like three, I've forgotten the name of that. Is it Mtupe or something?
Mtupe.
Yeah, and there were like three different stories. There's one where you're giving your story of how ulibiwa
nikipanda
mati, yes. Ingine headlights. No, but this one was another person's story.
Yes.
And then there's another one. What was it ulibiwa?
There was one ya headlights ilingolewa.
Yes.
There's one ya fair ilingolewa. And there's another one. Sasa nimekaa tu vibaya na nikachunwa.
Exactly.
Yes.
So now also because most or some of the stories that you tell, si zako specifically per se.
Yes.
So how do you put yourself in this other person's shoes as you're telling the story? Also in a way that at least it's comical
yes.
and still interesting
yes.
and still teaches us something.
Basically, I'll use you as an example.
Okay. Why me as an example?
Because you're the person next to me. So come home, assume tunapoona wewe come home, ukaniambia vile leo uliibiwa simu. Then the way umenarrate your story, najaribu kuivisha hapa kwa mind yangu. Ameibiwaje, inakam. So at the end of the day, hii story yako lazima itakuwa comedy. Because the way uliibiwa, ukiangalia hivi, hata sisi we can laugh over it. So these are some of the things that nakaa chini nasema, okay, bas. So nani aliibiwa hivi simu? So inakuwaga hivi na hivi. So now I make a story out of that. So basically zingine ni my real life experience zile nimeona, na zingine ni zile watu wamenipigia. So now nakuletea live. Because those are stories that mkienda either bash ama mmeenda to some social gatherings, people just talk about them. The way uliuziwa TV fake, people talk about them and they laugh over them. But sasa now nakuletea sasa live, sasa ona vile nakuaga. There are stories
this is what usually happens, because I also noticed underneath, you know, the videos, like, there's a lot of comments from Kenyans, and some are even laughing at the stories, and you wonder, like, how would you laugh at someone being removed from the headlights from, you know, from Macau or something, or how would you laugh mtu akiibiwa simu, mtu akifanywa hii na hii. So actually that's what you do, as in just trying to be in this person's shoes while you're telling their story, zile zenye sio zako.
Yes.
Okay.
Basically it's about relatability. You relate with it.
Yeah.
That's why nikipiga hiyo story, somebody ule atakam comment section anasema hata mimi nishaibiwa hivyo. So ana relate nayo. Yes.
But in that moment it becomes fun because you also know what to do.
Yes.
And how to, you know, be vigilant with yourself.
Exactly.
Okay, so then how did you start this kind of comedy? Because hapa Kenya hatuoni hiyo sana. Like the way I mentioned, we are so used to the stand-up comedy and all of that. So how did you come up with this style of comedy, and when did you begin?
Basically, I've been in the art industry for the longest time. Just to take you back, kuna time nilikuwa mother-in-law. I've featured in mother-in-law for like 2 years. 2016,
some of our local programs.
Yes, local program. 2016, 2017. So then after that, kukawa tunafanya tu vitu zetu on the side. Then the beginning of, by the end of this year, the end of last year, that is 2020, then I thought of coming with something. So nikafikiria naweza come up na nini. Then luckily I bumped into one of the best guys of all times. I call him Master Abel. Abel Mutua doing his stuff.
Because he also does this kind of craft.
Then I came across Patricia. Then
Patricia
Kioro doing some of these stories. Then I told myself, what if nikamna kitu that it has think different na the two of them. Because I believe in myself that I'm one of the best storytellers ever been.
Yeah.
Yes. It's only a matter of time. So nikasema mimi basi ndapiga story, but mine will be original that people can relate to, ama can relate with. Then I enact scenes in between. Because basically when you are given stories, ukipigiwa story hata na babu yako na madhe yako kitambo, wanakupigia tu story, so it's where to
create hizo pictures kwa kichwa,
moments and stuff.
Yeah.
So but mimi nikasema wacha nikam na story na hizo moments, let you see them live. Yes, so that sasa una relate kabisa.
More real.
Yes, becomes more real. So hapo ndo unaingiza comedy yangu kidogo, una spice up, kitu kama hiyo.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so you say you began in 2017, as in this was just acting, local programs
2016,
and all.
2017,
there.
18.
But sasa hii storytelling art umeianza tu like late.
Nimeanza 2020 late, nimeanza November. Yes.
So tuseme like what, like 2.5 months?
Yes, like 2.5 months.
So how has the reception been like? Since as much as it's been a short period of time, tunaweza sema.
Yes.
But how has the reception been like?
I'll call myself upcoming. So basically, upcoming wote wanapataga hiyo challenge ya vitu kugo viral ama kujulikana and stuff. So you still dwell around your circle. So but reception imekuwa poa. One, because wase wamerelate na stories. And that was what I really wanted with my crew, that people should relate to these stories. So akisha relate nayo, so over time that build to your fan base over time, pole. But basically nafurahia one, that watu wana relate na story. So secondly, sasa ni kuingia sasa ndani
sasa kabisa.
Kwa market sasa kabisa ndani.
Okay, right. Now let's again go back to this art or style of doing comedy, the storytelling bit.
Yes.
Do you feel, especially as kama, if I can say Kenyans per se,
yes,
do you feel like it's an area where we need to at least start venturing into more? And this
yes,
is for artists and comedians, just
yes,
aside from the stand-up kind that we're used to and that we know.
I will tell you 110%.
Why?
Because
you're so confident, like we should.
I'm saying 110% because when we grew up, tunapigiwa story. And like I said before, in gatherings, in whatever form of circles, watu wanapigiwa stories. So ukipata watu maboeka mahali kidogo, mtu atakama up na stories. So stories ni vitu ni kama remedy. Yes, there's some therapy stories nakupatia.
Yeah, actually someone says that the best way to release.
Yes. Yes.
Through speaking and talking.
You see, like when you come home na umekuwa na a bad day na kuna mtu mwenye unamwambia vile kulikuwa na anakwambia it will be fine. It will be okay.
Stories.
You umempatia story yako vile ilikuwa, vile job ilikuwa hectic leo, but ana calm down. But ni through your story anaweza picture yenyewe huyu anago a lot. So anakwambia tu calm down, itakuwa poa. So stories basically zina relieve. That is when you calm down, when you come home after job na umekaa chini una watch story yangu ama unapiga story na mtu unasikia ni kama unamasajiwa pole tu.
Unakumassage kwa kichwa.
Unamasajiwa kwa kichwa.
Mental state yako na back to normal.
Yes, imagine your daughter comes home from school anakwambia vile shule leo trip ilikuwa poa. Alafu wewe umetoka job ulikuwa na a bad day. Unatulia tu sasa. Yani sasa unamsikiza sasa.
Okay. So this is why you feel like probably this is an area we need to, at least go into. Isikuwa tu kucheka
No.
At least something that, you can relate with, something that resonates with you more.
Yes.
Also makes you think and see life differently in different perspectives.
Yes.
Okay. Also one thing I noticed is you have, can I call them like two collabos or something? Because I saw another one you did with another guy, and I'd love to know how you go about picking that, because then again, you just don't go picking about anyone that, okay, Lacha tuonge story ya Nairobi, lacha tuonge story ya Wizi, lacha tuonge story ya, probably marketplace or something, or politics.
Yes.
So how do you go picking about, I will tell this story with this person,
yes,
I won't tell this story with this other person.
Yes.
What goes into that process?
Basically nime segment story yangu in two fronts. That asoli ya Nairobi ni Kanairo vile inaitwa Kanairo. So mostly utapata watu wanakaga base wakipiga story. So when people sit around kwa base, unapata ni watu 3, 4, 5 people, mtu mmoja na come up na story, wasa wanacheka, wanashare. So nilitaka kuleta down, that's why naileta down to original stories that azitokagi kule nje kwa mainstream, ziko tu mashinani ndani. So base ni setup. So like the story I did with Abu Khalid, Boaz. I believe that Boaz is still one of the best storytellers pia that Embakasi, my hood, haijamtambua bado. So whenever I give stories, akipatia experience yake za vitu 1, 2, 3, you can basically mtu unaweza sikiza for like 2 or 3 minutes akipiga story bila wewe kusonga. Na imagine huyo mtu anakufanya una cook vitu kwa brain yako, huyu ni mtu deadly. So I pick a story because I create the show. So I pick a story, nasema leo nataka kuongelea about topic X. Then I say that hii story nataka tukue wawili iwe push ni kama tuko kwa base. Then I create that setting ya base. That setup ya base. Then now I come na kupatia storyline. Alafu na kupatia like bullets that tutaongelea 1, 2, 3. Alafu
so pia kunaongana like practice beforehand.
Of course we have to.
Okay.
Of course we have to rehearse. Yes, we have to rehearse that nakupatia because I'm giving you the meat. So when ndio ujaze hizo zingine. Yes, so nakupatia meat.
Make it fleshy.
Yes, make it fleshy. So and basically like for me with the Boaz nampatia sasa story full vile nakupatia. Nampatia story yote vile iko. Alafu nakwambia sasa tunaifilaje hiyo story?
Unaweza
ongeza nini ama unaweza toa nini unafilaje hiyo story? That's when ujipikie hiyo story. Then come the next day before to the set, hebu nipigie story nisikie. Ananipigia na mshow hapa bado iko sawa. Twende hewani.
So tunasema pia wewe ni mentor.
I do that.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll come to that in a bit.
Sure.
You mentioned something about also picking topics, like you can pick topic X, topic Z, topic Y, and I would love to know which kind of topics have you concentrated on na mbona? Because Nairobi kuna vitu mingi zina happen.
Yes.
Na huwezi fanya sometimes everything. They say pick your niche.
Yes.
So for you, which are your topics that you probably pick on mostly, and why those specific topics when you're doing your comedy?
For me, like for Hustle ya Nairobi, the name Hustle ni hiyo up and down ya Nairobi vile Kanairo iko. And through that hustle unapata kuna mtu amechezwa. Kuchezwa I mean kuna mtu amegongwa kitu. So kuna hizo side za kugongwa na kuna side tu za wewe kama kijana wa Nairobi ama mtu wa Nairobi unapitia nini na nini na nini.
Kuna tu stuff fulani you go through.
So utapata leo nimeongelea story ya vile mtu alichezwa simu ama alichezwa TV. Utapata kesho nimeongelea venye life experience yangu venye kama the next show that naongelea, the next premiere yangu ya Sunday, naongelea story ya betting.
Gambling. Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Oh, lo. Gambling vile metufanya hii Nairobi. So
wengine wanasema ni business, wengine wanasema we need to do this.
Yes, like sisi tunasema ni full time job. Yes, na tuko tu kwa kwa masaiba na magazeti.
You're betting.
Tunachambua. So utapata kuna mtu akona experience yake through betting, aliakalia ngiri 10 na ikashawa. Hivyo tu. Ngiri 10 nilikuwa ni ya rent ama ilikuwa ni ya fee ya mtoi na ikaoga.
Na sometimes maybe ni influence from somebody else.
Yes.
Ama watu wamekuwa kibet kwa like okay, why not?
Yes. Utapata topic nyingine naongelea kitu kama vile usingizi shainifanya. In one of my nini usingizi shainifanya. Usingizi imenimess my friend.
Hata bila jambo mess wazee hawa acha tu ni sisi.
Usingizi ningekuwa nimeomoka kitambo sana.
Kasi usingizi.
Kama si usingizi Nairobi ingenitambua.
But your sleep is therapy.
But you see,
me and man sleep is good therapy.
Like imagine leo vile nilikuwa na come interview, ningeoversleep. So ningelose opportunity. Yes.
Okay.
So unapata unaongelea vitu kama hizo. So nikiongelea story ya usingizi you can relate with.
Because I can relate. Buta ongelea hiyo.
Unaona, nikiongelea betting somebody else can relate.
Yeah.
Nikiongelea story ya shule, your first suspension in school, unaweza relate.
Okay.
So ni vitu mtu anaweza relate. Unaona, rafiki yako aliuziwa simu Bonoko, you can relate. Uliuziwa Samsung badala ya Samsung.
You can
relate.
So this is how you go. So this is actually go picking, you know, the topics that you will talk to.
The topics that yes, alafu naziangalia, nazi draft pole with my crew. I have a very wonderful crew that wananisaidia kujenga. So nikishaijenga na washo mnaisikiaje hii mnaionaje? Wananiambia piga tuisikie. Na ipiga tunamanyama naipeleka.
Kish, on that note, crew.
Yes.
Because the way you mentioned that you are an upcoming, you know, storyteller in this, I mean, upcoming comedian in this particular space, your storytelling. Now, kuna aspect you always miss, especially as upcomings in whatever front, that I need to have a team. I need to have a crew. Sometimes you always have these tendencies of, you know, I'm gifted, I'm talented. I can do this. Nishaambiwa venye mimi naweza sema story. So why do I need a team? Why do I need a crew? I'd love for you to tell us the importance of having people on the side to just help you put your things together.
I'll tell you for free. Without fear of contradiction. Hata ukiwa mdeadly aje na una crew iko behind wewe, uweze come through. Most of us tunajiaminigi nikiona wewe ukipresent news ama segment nasema naweza dupoa kushinda ule. But you don't know what goes behind before ufike hapa. So for me my crew may come through because the first time that I came up with this idea, I went to a very good friend of mine amuitaga Odongo. Brown aliniambia hii ndio umechagua na unaona inaweza. Sawa tuende. But akaniambia you need a crew my friend. Hauwezi fanya peke yako na mimi. So I thought of it na nikafikiria I've been born in Emba and bred in Emba and there are so many guys that were in the Saudi journalism and stuff. Then I started calling them one by one. A very good friend of mine DOP wangu anaitwa Horace. Horace nikamwambia come niko na kitu hapa. What he asked me was una shoot lini? Mpaka mimi nikakuwa taken aback. Aya, una shoot lini? That ako tayari. Nikamwambia nitafute editor. There's a good friend of mine Abis. Come. Yes, nikamwambia nitafute director. There's a good friend of mine Chester. Kuja. Nikaambiwa my friend, bado unahitaji digital, unahitaji graphics. So niko like ala.
So yote bado ni team,
bado ni team. So Joan came through. So people came through for me. Yes, because naambiwa ni team, siwezi fanya peke yangu. So most of us upcoming tunahata hiyo segment, tunahata hiyo part ya
team.
Najiweza.
So again what you're saying is that it's important to actually have a team.
It's important to have a crew.
Nice. So that's why actually we're going to wrap it up.
Yes.
we could have continued the conversation further. But that was TV Nokoth, aka Kish, who's a comedian, just talking to us about his personal journey into comedy and the growth of comedy industry in this country. And that is where we bring this conversation to a close. And ultimately, good morning Kenya this Thursday from me and on behalf of the entire team that made the show a success. Till next week, good morning.
Get ready for a 3 weeks Africa Football Feast as the new year kicks off with the 6th edition of the Africa Nations Championship in Cameroon. From the 16th of January to the 7th of February 2021, 16 teams from the continent will be spread across 3 cities as the best players from domestic leagues showcase their talents live on KBC Channel 1. Let's support our own. 2 lionesses struggle to cohabit.
Because I'm not going to stand here and be compared to some...
Hey, Nancy, don't try me.
As the coastal vacation brings Nancy and Joe closer.
Nancy, you are full of surprises. What would you like me to do for you this morning?
Or will it be?
Now, can you give us some space?
No. He? Ronald, ni usherati.
Watch your mouth, Mother Teresa.
Or what?
This game that you and Nancy are playing.
Na nyinyi mmekuwa akina nani kuingilia mambo ya wazazi wenu?
Stringed, making a comeback. Hotter.
Just gonna stand there and stare at us?
How do you think things will end up here?
This is a conversation between your father and I.
Sometimes it would be good if you just stand your ground.
Wait, Mtoto, wait. What happens between me and Mama Paul is none of your business. You know Mama Paul is leaving you. So what?
What?
I'm done being a puppet and dancing to your tune and manipulation. We called the clients and told them that your court is down.
Only on KBC Channel 1. Fridays at 8:30 p.m. Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
For killing Sushim, we must kill Ashok and make the rumors of his death come true. After that, I will send Sushim a message which he is waiting for. Sushim will definitely come to meet you.
I wanted to share a lot with you, Karniki. A lot. I wanted to tell you the truth about me. I wanted to make you realize that not every Magadh citizen is bad.
You have hurt me the most now. I shared every wound on my heart.
Peacock is searching for you desperately. He won't let go of any chance to kill you. Do you want to give him that chance?
Next on
Iwapo una nia utafaulu biidhnillahi taala, na kama huna nia basi vitendo vyako vitakuwa hafifu.
Kila amali mtu anapoifanya, Muislamu hasatan huzingatiwa ile nia yake.
this weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Maanake humjui mtu katika nafsi yake atafikiriaje. Wewe ona mpoa tocha mwambie rafiki yangu. Lakini katika nafsi yake wajua anachokisikia.
Huyu yule sister Dule uko nakwambia.
Huyu mimi namjua nikashe. Huyu mtoto ana tabu. Ana shida kama jina lake lenyewe yani.
Sikia nikwambie wewe, hapa hakuna namba zako. Ukiangalia hapo kuna namba zako kweli hapa?
Mimi ni governor lawyer. You are not supposed to be here. Trespass. Tell your friend, mwambie rafiki yako apaondoke hapa mahali mkiandamana pamoja. Hapatakani mtu yeyote.
Hi, this is Cover Girl Looks with Christine Kuria. Every woman who's going out on a date wants to look amazing. So I'm going to give you a few tips on how to look and feel gorgeous. And it starts from how you look, right? So ladies, you want to look extra special? Well, skincare first. That's what I believe in. And I got some rice mask face wash. And this is how I'm going to wake my face up. I've already cleansed my skin. So I'm going to use a bit of rice mask. Okay, I know you're supposed to wet your face a little bit and scrub. It's so gentle and it smells amazing. My skin already feels so soft. I'm going to wash it off and come back and show you the next step. My skin feels amazing. I can feel that the dead skin has left the building. So now I'm going to be doing something that I know a lot of people don't usually do, but I love taking care of my lips before any makeup application because it simply helps my lips to stay smoother, softer, plump for longer. Ladies, my lips feel so soft, and because of the shea butter and the tiny little molecules that it has inside of apricot, I'm telling you girls, your lips also plump up and it makes your lipstick look even better. Now that I'm done with the lip mask, it's going to be marinating my lips as I continue with the next steps. And right now I'm going to use something called mask sheets that I got from 4.beauty. I get different mask sheets because every day my skin feels something different. Sometimes it feels dry, sometimes it feels oily, sometimes I need a little bit of plumping up. And so today I'm feeling a little bit dry, and because we're going for a sheer moisture look, I think I'm going to go for the hyaluronic acid mask sheet. I'm going to let this sheet really, you can see, it looks amazing. And this stuff, honestly guys, anyway, I'm going to have this mask on for about 15 minutes just to help my skin get that hydration that it needs. And then you don't wash it off. You just massage it into your skin. Make sure that it's not excess so that your makeup also can stay for longer. Great, so my mask sheet is on and I'm going to give it about 15 to 20 minutes. It gives me enough time to go send some emails or maybe browse a little bit of the social media, find out what's going on. And then after that, I'll be back, take it off, and you'll see the final results. Time's up, ladies. Time for the final reveal. Hallelujah. Oh, it feels so good. Oh, and there's still some left over. So just gently massage it into your skin and make sure you remove the excess product, because now when we're going to do the makeup, you don't want to have a lot of serum on your face. So now that the skin is ready, it's time for me to do my makeup. And even for my makeup, there's a little bit of a prep before I start applying the foundation. And I am going to use my primer because I am an oily girl. And as you know, if you've got oily skin, you are going to shine after like 1 hour of your makeup application. So when I prep and prime my skin, it just helps my makeup to stay looking matte for longer. So I'm going to start with the eyebrow pencil. For those of you who don't know how to do eyebrows, always get an eyebrow pencil with a little brush at the end because it just makes it so easy. Like see right now, I just did my eyebrows, brought them in. Now I'm just brushing them up. So this is what we're doing. We're just going to clean up the eyebrows. So you definitely need to get a flat brush and a blending brush. So I'm just going to blend that out. I try not to use extremely light colors. So ladies, I'm now using foundation, and a little goes a long way. You can decide to use makeup brush, makeup sponge, whatever you do it smoothly and you don't get any streaks. And blend, because you want to get that next to skin look. So what I'm doing, I'm just going to intensify the product underneath my eye just to use it like a concealer. My foundation is done. As I told you earlier, I've got oily skin. I'm going to use some translucent powder to set my under eye. Now that this is done, I'm going to come in with a darker powder. I'm looking for more definition on my face. That really nice natural contour. You can see the difference. Everything is coming together beautifully. Now let's blend. And when you're blending, just blend it in circular motion because that just helps See, that part is done. Now, you want to look a little bit fresh, so I'm just gonna, now, I'm going to use some eyeshadow because I want my eyes to be a little bit more dramatic, and I'm just going to use my finger with a gold color. I'll just place that right there. See the difference? My eyes look more awake, and I'm just using my fingers. I'm not going to use a brush for now. And I find that sometimes using your finger helps the product to be more intense. That's if you're looking for intensity, like what I'm looking for right now. Ooh. See? Easy. And then I'll take my little highlighter brush and go in with my darker powder that I showed you earlier that I used for contouring, and I'm just going to blend that in. Can you see the difference? This actually makes my eye look bigger and more defined. So I'm using the same powder that I used to contour. That is my crease color for today. That's it. Ladies, now that my eye look is done, I'm not going to go for the classic red lip. Today, I just want to try something different. And I'm going to go for a little pink glossy color. So I'll start by wiping off my mask, because now I'm going to start basing my lips with a matte lipstick. So now I've wiped off my lip mask and it's time for me to do my lipstick. I'm looking for a subtle pink shimmery nude lipstick, and I almost want my lips to look like it's that color, but it's not. So I'm going to start by lip lining. You can see this lip liner is my favorite. Oh my God. It has seen better days. See how beautiful. And if you want to overline, it's okay. I tend to do that sometimes. For those of you who don't like shimmer, you can stop right there. And by the way, this is so nice because even when you drink something, the transfer is minimal. But for some of us who want to look all shimmery and sultry and all that, I'm going to apply a lip gloss on top. So I find that it looks a little bit basic. And now, see the difference? And it smells so good. Oh my gosh. Remember the strawberry and more strawberry. Thank you, Rihanna. Ladies, this is the final look. I hope you learned 1 or 2 tips to apply on that fabulous date that you're going to be going for.